I'd like to bring the Monday, March 20th, 2023 committee meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by faxing notice of this meeting to the Press of Atlantic City and Star Ledger on January 6, 2023, and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January 9, 2023. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Schenker?
Here.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Here.
Mayor Patali?
Here. Moment of silence for private reflection. Okay. Guest presentations. We have a proclamation for excellence in historic preservation.
Come down.
Do we have the,
Yes.
all right. So this is the excellence in historic preservation. I'll give you a little background on both properties. 6031 Kenscall Avenue, that's Elijah J. Hill. 6031 Kenscall Avenue, formerly known as 207 Oak Avenue, was built circa 1885 with Greek revival influences. The dwelling takes the form of a stack house, a common residential building type in South Jersey from the late 18th through the mid-19th century. Character-defining elements include its massing, wood cladding, gable end returns, and symmetrical fenestration on the primary elevation. I really need to start wearing my glasses. It even says here, not really sure what all that means, but it is quite character, so I'll add that. 6061 Main Street, Ann and Ian Nelson. 6061 Main Street, formerly known as 339 Main Street, is a frame dwelling constructed circa 1870 with Gothic revival influences. It was built by Daniel Izzard, who was listed in the 1880 federal census as a fire insurance agent. Character-defining elements of this dwelling include its massing, gable end returns, wood walkout windows, cross gable on the wing of the main block, and wood window surrounds with molded lintels. The 1990 Mays Landing Historic District National Register of Historic Places nomination identified 6031 Kenscall Avenue and 6061 Main Street as a contributing resources to the district due to their date of construction and design. Whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton, the citizens of the township, local organization, and outside entities have endeavored to preserve and protect buildings and sites in the Township of Hamilton which are deemed to have historical significance, and whereas the Historic Preservation Commission strives to support the efforts of the Township Committee to preserve and protect the properties that have valuable historical significance and add to the charm of historic Mays Landing, and whereas the Township Committee and the Historic Preservation Commission recognize the hard work and dedication of our residents who have worked so hard to successfully preserve the historic integrity of their homes and properties and keep the history of the township alive and fresh on the minds of everyone. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the members of the Township Committee and the Historic Preservation Commission, Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, March 20th, 2023, honor Elijah J. Hill and Ann and Ian Nelson. In recognition of their hard work, and commitment to preserving the historic character and charm of their properties. I know Ann's here. Is Ann here?
I'm Ian today.
Come on up. You're way better looking than Ian. In my mind. This is for you. Congratulations. Thank you very much for all you guys do. So Sue is going to accept for Mr. Hill. Thank you. Thank you. Addition, deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have 6A, in addition, 6A1, resolution amending the temporary budget for the year 2023, resolution approving the leasing of temporary fuel tanks and fuel on a month-to-month basis from Riggins Incorporated of Vineland, New Jersey, for an amount not to exceed $75,000, and a deletion, deleting 3G, authorization, preparation of a $5 million bond ordinance for Lake Lenape Dam rehab and powerhouse improvements. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to move the late list.
Second.
Motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Early public comment.
We have nobody signed up, Mayor.
No one signed up. Very good. We move on to discussion items. Discussion. 3A. Updated timeline for Hamilton landfill closure. A synopsis, presentation of updated timeline of landfill closure by Jeff Day, discussion about the requested 2-year extension of the existing redevelopment agreement, resolution for an extension based on what is agreed on at the meeting, resolution authorizing the mayor clerk to sign assignment agreement. So, Jeff? Might want to raise that up a little bit. There you go.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. Quick update on schedule. Things are moving along more quickly now, which is good. Speaking with the DEP, we should have landfill closure plan approval by the end of this month, which will then enable us to submit the remedial action work plan of the DEP, as well as we've decided to submit as soon as we can thereafter the Pinelands development application, which really is just their form, and then all those other documents attached, the landfill closure plan with the approval, remedial action work plan, and the other components of that. So, as we all know, the Pinelands Commission can be tricky in their evaluation, reviews, and approval, but hopefully that will go smoothly. Assuming that that does happen, we hope to be in the ground during the third quarter of this year with construction on the landfill closure. Which is about a 6 to 9 month project, depending on how things go, weather, et cetera. But, and then immediately thereafter, we'd move into installation of the solar array system. So that all looks like first, second quarter of next year would be starting the solar array installation if we get, Pinelands Commission and the other approvals in place in about 90 to 120 days. So that's kind of where things sit at this point. And as the mayor indicated it on the agenda, we're requesting extension on the redevelopment agreement in support of both of our financing approaches and acknowledgement of the assignment over to our single-purpose entity that's going to be long-term care of the landfill moving forward. So,
Okay.
Jeff, I know you've been working on this for a long time. Could you explain to me what remediation you will be doing on that landfill
Sure.
once you get permission?
sure. Effectively, we're just really putting a permeable cap, so it's really just soil material. And there's already a good amount of that material out there. We need to clear the trees, grade the area. It's really just more to control stormwater. That's the main aspect of it. So we got to clear all the 20 acres plus and consistent with the plan and cap all that, do some gas monitoring, and then once that's closed and it's formed in the right way, some bulldozers and some other machinery, we'll then install topsoil and put the appropriate seeding on top of that in preparation for the solar array to be installed. So conceptually, it's a pretty simple process. It does take some time because, it's a pretty good size area.
Now, when you're saying cap it, what are you capping it with?
We're capping it really with just soil material, existing material that's out there, and then topsoil and seeding material. So clean fill. It's all New Jersey certified clean material on this project. If we were to use any of the, and we've already sampled, as you say, over the years, the existing surface materials as well as, the waste itself and under the waste and the groundwater and all that. And as we've determined, the groundwater is actually for a landfill, and the perception people have is pretty darn clean out there. We really only have a couple compounds and a couple wells at very low concentrations that would support just a monitored natural attenuation of a low-frequency sampling just to monitor and make sure that nothing else would appear.
I was wondering, why does the Pinelands want a cap that is non-permeable?
They had in their comprehensive management plan a requirement that and that is still the presumptive remedy for EPA, if you will, which again, when it was proposed in early 70s, approved in the 80s, and by that time it was already kind of out of technology had developed where they recognized that actually infiltration into the landfill and the waste helps it degrade faster rather than just entombing it with an impermeable cap, and your waste and everything is there for much longer, including any contaminants that are in there. As the waste degrades, it also degrades those contaminants. So they've now, and even in active landfills, and as they close cells now, they recirculate the leachate and pump it back in and kind of recirculate it through to get moisture and nutrients and stuff in with the waste to help with the degradation. But anyway, the presumptive remedy was what was in the CMP or equal. And with some of the work that we and some others have done, they modified the CMP now a couple of years ago. You guys are probably familiar. And it talks about the alternatives and gives you some specific criteria you need to meet to demonstrate that your remedy is equivalent to an impermeable cap. In most of these old landfills, the waste, the trash itself is already sitting in groundwater. So the actual presumptive remedy of an impermeable cap on top is to keep water from infiltrating, going through the waste, and getting into the groundwater. Well, as you can see, if the waste is already sitting in the groundwater, you're not really doing much. And it's very expensive to put those impermeable caps on. So in situations where it makes sense, where you have a clean, a degraded landfill like this, it's fairly old, and luckily it doesn't seem like there was a lot of bad stuff, liquid chemicals, et cetera, placed in the landfill. A permeable cap makes more sense. So.
And, well, I know it's the reason they don't want it to be permeable is because the water then carries the contaminants to the, the aquifer that is there. So, sounds like you've done a lot of research on this.
Well, we've been, as you say, we've been working at it for a while. And again, keep in mind, we've got 31 plus odd wells, monitoring wells out there, at different depths and all around the landfill and around. We'll monitor those during the remediation and the closure activities. And then we hope to close a bunch of those wells, go down to about half a dozen that we would monitor as part of the long-term care program. You use the larger, the more data points, the 30 wells, to get a good handle on exactly how things are flowing, and then you pick key locations that you can monitor after you've closed the landfill and just make sure nothing happens. Again, in a landfill, you always never really know what's in there, right? So you want to be monitoring that over a period of time, and there'll be a permit that the state issues for that, a new one. You have an old one now, which is what those Eurofins bills keep coming in for, but this will be a new one that'll take us, that'll monitor the landfill over the next a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, that's good. All right.
Mr. Cheek?
Last year, you met with me and the mayor then.
Yes.
You promised that you would be a lot farther than you are now, as far as the trees going down, the road going into the landfill, and basically doing what you just said would take 9 months now. Nothing's been done. You sat with us at a meeting and said it would be done by the end of the year. We are in March. There hasn't been a piece of machinery whatsoever to do any of what you promised to be done by the end of the year.
We have been,
Hold up.
what's that?
What was the holdup?
We have been delayed with the design work,
Design work.
with the engineers,
I'll be
et
honest
cetera.
with you, I looked at the design work from last year to
Yep.
this year. I didn't have drawings to relate to. I made a living with drawings.
Yep.
Those drawings look exactly the same. There may be a footnote or something else different that I couldn't compare to. It looked to me, nothing changed. The access road's still the same place. Everything is still the same. The perimeters are still the same. The elevations are still the same. You just said here 5 minutes ago that it would take 9 months. You told us last year it would be done by the end of the year.
Yep.
I don't see any difference. The only difference I see is there's no difference out at the site.
Understood.
It is
I-
true. There's not even a dozer. There's not even a
No, we
land
have,
clearing
I
piece of
understand.
apparatus.
Yeah, we need to have the approvals in place first before we can move, so.
Last year, you did not say you needed approvals. Last year, you said you were ready. You didn't say anything about Pinelands. You said it will be done by the end of the year, and you gave us the reassurance. And now you're saying you need approvals.
So-
Last year, you had all the approvals.
No, we never had the
Well,
approvals.
you
That was-
didn't tell us that waiting, pending, if I was gonna promise you I would be done by the end of the year, I would tell you pending on approvals. You promised it would be done by the end of the year. This project's been going on over 10 years.
I know.
I know, we all know. And then you promise that you'll have it done at a certain time, a certain phase, and nothing's done. I don't see how. If you told me, yeah, we're waiting on approvals, I would believe you. You told us it would be done by the end of the year. Not pending approvals, nothing. It will be done.
Yeah,
I can't buy it. I'm sorry. Now you're telling us in 9 months you're still waiting on approvals. How do you know in 9 months you'll have the approvals and it'll be done?
So what approvals are you waiting on?
We're waiting on the landfill closure approval, which is the first step, and we have to receive that, and then we can submit the remedial action work plan and the development application to the Pinelands Commission. This has always been the case, and that's what it says in the status memos that we've been submitting each time we come in, so.
Do you know
Sorry
what
if
the,
I didn't communicate
Now,
with
you
you,
didn't
Committeeman Cheek,
communicate,
and about
After
the,
10 years, 11 years, you're filling up, you're capping a landfill, and you're doing everything, and now you're waiting on the approvals? I find that very incompetent, to be honest with you.
sorry you feel that way, and
Well, to present one thing, just like you presented us tonight, that you'll have it closed in 9 months, and you're still waiting on approvals.
9 months after we get the approvals. Yeah.
You didn't say that.
I did say that.
Okay.
so what is your, when do you think you're gonna, let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
When are we gonna get the approvals?
I spoke to the DEP yesterday. They expect, that they'll get it out in the next couple of weeks, so that's why I said the end of the month. That's the landfill closure.
Is that just a verbal thing you got from them? Because,
That was a verbal, yes. I have a meeting with them about something else, but the same individual is on Wednesday. So I will indicate that, you know, you're very anxious to see the approval within that time frame. And if anything's different than that, I will certainly let you know. But that's what they told me.
one of the rules I have is AVO, avoid verbal orders. So just a suggestion, you might want to send them an email following up and then get them in writing on when something's going to be,
I appreciate that.
get them on the hot seat.
Yep,
Do
'Cause
you,
right now, you're on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm happy to be on the hot seat.
I have a
Understand the
question.
project's taken a long time.
Dr.
A
Witherspoon?
lot of other things that have delayed us prior to this, but.
Hi, Mr. Day, we received this evening, this letter from New Jersey EDA, and that, I'm reading it as you were talking, that you got a grant award up to $2,996,616.06, up to.
Mhm.
Do you know the actual amount?
The total budget for the landfill closure is $5 million plus, $5 million plus. That is this is a renewable energy grant application program that we're under. And the HDSRF program has a limit for each government entity, municipality, of $3 million per year. So these projects, so we've got another application that's been submitted for, that's the 2022 grant application. That was actually approved in November by the EDA. I'm not sure why it took them this long to get that letter out. It's usually out in 30 to 45 days.
Yeah, it was March.
And then the subsequent application is for just under $1 million, which will give us the $4 million that we look to use to support. And now we're putting up the other 25% to close the landfill.
So you actually received it, or you're going to receive it?
No, that's the acknowledgement letter, and then the grant closing documents come, and then it's a reimbursement grant. So as we would submit invoices to the township, those invoices would go to the DEP for approval, and then they go to the EDA, and the disbursement check gets issued.
And once you get the new grant, that's when all of the paperwork will be signed, because this paperwork is blank.
Paperwork, as soon as that is signed by the mayor and sent back to the EDA and they receive it, they will start to work on the closing documents. Again, they've been slow, I'm not sure why. It's taken about 30 days, et cetera. That's not going to hold us up on our filing any of our paperwork to get our approvals. That's already a work in progress. It's effectively done, just need to get it filed. But when that gets approved, we'll have funds for construction. This one and 2023's grant application.
And my last question, how much money has been spent? I'm the new person on the committee, so I don't know how much money has been spent over the last 10 years for this project that we own.
Yeah, so we secured all of the investigation grants. Those are 100%, so 100% paid by the state. Round numbers, it's about $900,000. The original package was 440, et cetera, and the department, the DEP, wanted a much more extensive groundwater investigation, and they wrote the scope and the budget for that. It was another $400,000, so that's been implemented. Our company's invested another couple $100,000 of our money in the project so far, and there was a initial remedial action grant issued for $215,000. That was actually a 2019 grant that took almost 2 years to get through the township to get the paperwork finalized.
Thank you.
Mr. Shanker? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I feel like we are to discuss whether we're approving this 2-year extension or taking another path. Sure, Aileen. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. So I think that we should move the discussion
Yep.
to the timeline, and the history lesson's great, but we're here to discuss the timeline and whether 2 years is acceptable, unacceptable, or otherwise.
When does I'm sorry, when does the current application expire?
It's dated, it says May on it, but it was actually executed in June, so go to the solicitor to see when he thinks it actually expires, but I believe it was executed on June 10th, was the date.
In
But
2022?
The cover of the agreement says May, so we've always just said May or June.
I'll be honest with you, I would suggest a 5-month extension and then reevaluate the progress since we were supposed to be farther along to this date by far than we were promised last year.
That's, the problem with that is that it's all connected together. So the remediation is funded under, like I said, a 75 reimbursement redevelopment grant for solar energy. So if the approved agreement doesn't cover the period to include the installation of the solar, it upsets the project and grant, financing, which is not authorized.
So if there's not a redevelopment agreement in place, you could lose financing.
Yep. I mean, there's,
We've had a redevelopment agreement for the last 11 years, and in all reality, not a tree has been cut down. When we were promised that it would be cut down.
Well, I don't think cutting a tree down would get us anywhere
No,
closer,
but
really,
the
but
fact is
I
that
understand what you're
we are
saying.
not showing any progress whatsoever but paperwork. After we
Well-
were promised progress.
How long do you think it will take for the Pinelands to send back approval?
I'm not sure. I'm hoping, like I said, 90 to 120 days. And I know they have 45 days from a complete application, but I think is what the time is. And I know they lifted that for COVID. I'm not sure what the current status is on that.
But that doesn't start until you get the approval from the
Yeah, we need the landfill closure plan approval from the department, the DEP.
DEP.
And that would be an attachment to the development application for refinements.
So if we were to extend it 6 months, and then you had to come back and get another one, and we were agreeable to extend it again, is that going to mess it, as long as you're under a redevelopment agreement, correct?
Right. I don't know what they're, I mean, I'm not sure how that's received at the EDA or the.
Why does it have to be extended 2 years?
That's how long we have in the scope to get the closure done and the solar system installed. And again, it's a solar, it's a renewable energy grant.
But if you don't get your extension, or if you don't get your approvals, as you're saying, it's going to be longer than 2 years, correct?
Well, that's true. Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
so I
I'm
think
I'm
what
not
they're
totally
ask-
opposed to it. I'm not sure what'll happen with the,
I think what they're asking for is if we do come back in 5 months and we'll see how you're doing,
I understand that.
or 5 months
I
from June
understand
10th
what
or
the
whatever it
request
is.
Yep. I'm not exactly sure how that'll be.
So I haven't been here during this whole process, but I can tell by some of the people up here on committee that they're, they want to see progress.
Understand.
And listen, I understand what you're going through, and the DEP and the EPA and all that kind of stuff is, it's difficult and arduous, but at the same token, I think they're just looking to see some kind of progress, and if you can come back, and I don't think it's asking too much, that if we give you a smaller extension to make sure that things are moving along and you can give us a report.
Sure.
I don't think at this point in
Right.
time that we're looking not to extend you. I think we're just trying to, for lack of better words, hold you accountable,
I don't mind being held accountable.
okay?
And,
I mean that in the nicest way.
I understand. I'm not offended,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand why Committeeman Cheek is upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I do disagree that I promised you that we would get it done without
We can
having the
agree to
approvals in place.
disagree, no problem.
That's fine, yeah. And, again, we've always known that these approvals needed to be in place, so.
Okay.
That's, the main part of my job is managing regulatory agencies, which is not, as you just pointed
And
out.
I mean,
not
and the
very
big
far.
thing here is to close the landfill. I mean, honestly, the solar field is the cream on top.
Right, but again, the way
But
we have it
we
set
need
up,
to
they're interconnected at
Yeah,
length, right?
but
So-
That's
we need to close
understandable.
this landfill. This has been going on for a long time, and
Yep.
and there's concerns out there, and if it's not closed, then it's not, then, are things working correctly? Is there
Right.
more contamination getting into our water? What's going on? So that's my biggest concern, is
Right.
I want
Well-
this landfill closed and capped.
Okay.
We've documented that the water's in good shape, and this landfill's not contributing to the groundwater problem out there. So that was a lot, again, that work was done from 2011 till 2015.
So we have an idea out there floated to give him 5 months.
That's good.
Yeah, I think you should be able to let us know whether the Pinelands has, given you approval. and
Sure.
the
Yeah, I mean,
D-
there won't be any trees cut down in 5 months. I'm pretty sure of. But
As long as we're moving in the right direction.
Well, he has to wait for the approval before he begins that remediation.
I hope that we have all the approvals in 5 months. That would be disappointing to me if we didn't have that, so.
So what do we need to do here? We just need to, do we need to take a vote on extending it for 5 months?
Yeah, there's a draft resolution in your packet for 2 years. We can change that to 5 months
Okay.
or any other amount, and then you need a motion second. And
A motion that we change that to 5 months.
Second.
I have a motion to second to change that to 5 months. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? All right, so we change it to 5 months. Now, do we have to do another motion?
I thought that was the
With-
same motion. but
Okay,
Did ever,
just checking to make sure.
I guess, okay, was that maybe we'll do a roll call to
Yeah,
make
do it,
sure.
yeah.
So this is to change it to 5 months and to grant the extension for 5 months. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes?
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, yes, and carried.
we'll see you in, did we find out when the,
It's June.
is it June? So 5 months. We'll see you in November. How's that?
But before I let you run away, I've got one more thing.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here for the whole meeting. So
Okay.
public comment, I'll wait for the whole.
Okay, all right, so, no, item 4 here, it says break ground on landfill closure mid-2023, so that would be June, if everything's going well.
That would be, yeah, June of next, 2024.
This says 2023. Is that a typo?
Where are?
I'm sorry.
Chantel.
So
Yeah,
that's-
break ground on, 2023. That was, yes, if everything is
If
approved.
everything falls,
Right.
so what, my point is that when you
Yep.
come back in November, we'll
We
know
might,
whether.
we may be moving to the field, yeah.
Perfect,
True.
thank you.
Yeah, I hope that we are breaking ground by November.
I
so.
think we all do.
I was thinking 5 months from today, is why I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
you're
fi-
okay.
Yeah, it's
You're
five,
okay.
5 months from the end of the current
Okay,
redevelopment agreement.
all right, very good. And then there's, well, it's the next item on the agenda, so for discussion, is the assignment agreement there?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the next item on the agenda, number 3.
Thank you.
Okay.
You just need a motion for this, Carl, for the assignment agreement?
Do we need a motion?
It's a resolution, motion second, and vote.
Yeah.
Number 3, resolution.
I don't have it
Oh,
in front
okay.
of me. I don't have it in front of me. I
Oh.
don't come on back.
That has
Sorry.
been changed.
You want to motion
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay, all right, so I'll make a motion to, a resolution authorizing mayor and township clerk to sign assignment agreement.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
Oh, yes, and carried.
Moving on, 3B, discussion, sale of the former MUA building, confirming a minimum bid price. We have a recommended minimum bid price of $190,000.
Could you
We
go
need a-
into,
We need a motion, right? A second before we.
No, this is
discuss.
just a
Just a discussion.
discussion.
Brett, can you go into the reasoning for making it 190?
Our tax assessor went out to the site a few weeks back. He looked at the age of the building, the condition, the obvious repairs to the roof that are needed. The HVAC air handlers need to be replaced in the building. It's in a residential area, so it is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It's gonna have to be dealt with like any other land sale, so it's gonna have to be, for lack of better words, a cash deal. You couldn't get the buyer wouldn't be able to get a mortgage on the property. Inspections are gonna be very limited on the building, getting inside the building. He looked at some comps that were sold in the last 90 days around the area. What else did he come up with here? That was pretty much it. That's,
So what was the assessment before we went to 190,000?
what's the,
What was it assessed at?
I think it was over 300,000.
354,000 now.
365.9.
365.9.
So that's,
So what you're doing is subtracting all those items to make it more saleable?
That's what we know about. It depends on what the new use of the building would be. But if they were gonna use it for commercial use, we know that it would need new ADA bathrooms, it would need ADA outside, things like that to bring it up to code.
So it could be purchased by a dentist or something like that for 190, and he could go to town on changing it. Would he have to come before the planning board to get a change in?
No.
no.
No,
This
okay.
is just the minimum bid price.
So it
This
could
is where
go
the
up.
bidding would start, and then we could get more for it.
Now, where is that going to be put? On, how are we going to advertise that? Just in the newspaper?
In the newspaper. Do we advertise it twice, like in?
Well,
in
the statute
press?
says I have to advertise it twice. It's just a legal ad in the Atlantic City Press. If you do a resolution authorizing us to move forward with a public sale tonight, we can do more than that. We can do more than that, Brett, if you'd like, but that's what I normally do on a public sale, just what is required by statute.
My question is, do we have any written estimates for the repairs needed? Which was my question from before, not saying that the prices here are not accurate, but do we have anything to
I had-
substantiate what we are saying here?
I had a roofer come out, a licensed roofer come out and look at the roof, and it's hard to say, just looking at it, what it needs. It definitely needs shingles, but we're not sure if it needs plywood. So you could double the price if it needs plywood. If it needs a roof rafter or something like that, around where the gutters are, it looks, like it could. It's hard to say.
So do we have any written estimates for,
Nothing written.
nothing written? So these are only estimated? Who estimated?
We base it on the squares of the roof.
The only reason why I asked that question is just to make sure that we're not coming in too low for the bid.
The price I gave you is very conservative.
But it's worth 365,000, so whoever gets this is still.
The price I gave you for the roofing and the HVAC, that's what I meant by conservative.
Oh. But the bathrooms and the doors, the exteriors and the floors, we don't have no written estimates on none of that.
I'm basing it on projects that we've done recently. I've gotten pricing out at the MISPA Annex for the bathrooms out there. So I'm similar sized bathrooms in that building. Same thing with the air handlers. We just got a price at the Powell Building for two similar size air handlers. They were roughly $25,000 a piece to replace those.
Okay.
I'm good with 190,000 starting bid price. So,
I concur with that, simply because these estimates here could end up being our estimates. This is not a building we want to hold on to. It needs repairs. And some of these estimates here are pretty accurate. The ADA improvement to the bathrooms could go way over this, depending on what they need to do, based on what they buy it for. If it's a business, there are certain standards that they have to follow, and ADA goes a little bit further than just the bathrooms. It's entrances, it's all kinds of stuff. So once someone new buys it and tries to repurpose it, it's going to all come into effect. So anyone who's going to buy this building is going to know all this stuff when they are bidding on it. So you can't, I don't think you can really look at this like it's a $365,000 building that we're selling on the cheap. I just don't think that's the case here. But like I said, these estimates, this roof and the air handlers especially, happens to be what I do for a living. Yeah, 50,000 is a good, strong price, and it could be more than that. So these could all be our bills, and then that one die needs looking real good. So I think that we need to get this up for sale and sell it as soon as possible. So I concur with the mayor on the $190.
190,000.
190,000?
$190.
That much
I was
more?
gonna say, you got something in somebody's pocket here, hold up.
Sold.
I just wanted to
Sold.
make sure
I'll
you
buy
were,
that for $190.
I just wanted to make sure you were paying attention. Very good.
And it's like we discussed last meeting, it's costing us about $1,700 a month to maintain. That's probably going to go up as summer comes along. The grass has to get cut, has to be maintained. And every day, there's a chance that something could happen that we're going to be responsible for.
I would like to say that looks are deceiving because it looks like a pretty substantial building. You know, it's made of brick and it has a nice appeal as from the road, so to speak. But when we were considering all those items, now, a person who buys that, are they required to do all those things?
Yeah.
Maybe they want to have 2 apartments in there.
I mean, they got the
Do they have to
local
change
code,
the?
that's what they have to do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not that I'm not gonna go along with it, it's just that I've learned, if it's not in black and white, it didn't happen. That's how I operate. I like to see it, all right? It's not that I don't trust what you're saying, I like to see it. You can move it.
This is also an attempt to put this building back on the tax rolls, which would be a really nice treat.
Absolutely.
How much will we collect in taxes for it? Have we any ideas?
Yeah.
It was,
I think I figured it out last year. I want to say that the township itself would get $2,000 a year, I think it is. And then plus the schools and the county would both get their cut, of course. But the
course.
township itself would in the ballpark of about $2,000 with what it's assessed at right now.
I agree with Ms. Shanker that 190 seems to be a fair price. No problem.
So we have a resolution here authorizing public land sale.
I want to move the resolution, sell the Emmy
Have a
Way
motion?
building.
second,
I have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes,
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Moving on. 3C, discussion item, ordinance amending Chapter 301, Article 1 of the Township Code to create a no parking zone on certain portions of Brandywine Road in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey.
the only question I have on this discussion, this is a draft,
Yes, this is just a draft.
so we're just discussing it, we're not taking no action.
Correct.
We are seeking authorization
Authorizing
to
us to
prepare
prepare the
for a new
ordinance.
ordinance.
All right.
Now, where is?
Brett, you want to give us a little background?
Yeah, give us-
This is the
Where
main-
is Brandywine Road?
This is off of Route 40. It's the main drag through Harding Run 1.
Oh, okay.
we have problems out there with tractor trailers parking on Brandywine, school buses, other commercial vehicles parking out on the road, blocking the traffic.
And this goes through Harding Run 1? This
Yes,
Brandywine?
behind Acme, next to Joanne Fabrics,
Okay,
across the street.
okay. So the idea is to get, to have people not parking there who are,
Commercial
rental
vehicle-
home.
Large commercial vehicles, we can't just, we have to post the whole road, or portions of the road, we can't, just,
Yeah, we can't enforce it right now because
We don't have an ordinance.
there's no ordinance.
So you need the ordinance.
Yes.
I'll motion.
Second.
yeah, it's our road.
Well,
Or we're not doing that, we're just
Yeah, all we're
discussing.
doing is, we're
We're
gonna.
just discussing.
Well,
We-
we
we
need a
would like
Well,
motion.
you need a
Yeah.
motion to form an
Do
ordinance.
the ordinance.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3D. Amendment of Chapter 66, Exhibit A, part-time seasonal hourly rates. This is to increase the hourly rates for the Cove employees. Basically giving all of them, increasing their hourly rate by $1. Day manager would be 23 an hour, the head lifeguard would be 20, lifeguard 18, and a beach badge checker $16 per hour. This is basically, minimum wage is increased, so this is keeping up with the minimum wage increase, and also, it's just tough to get employees to come out there, and we want to keep the Cove open as much as possible. So, gotta pay.
Minimum wage is 14.13 per hour. And we were paying 15
We were
last-
paying 15 last year.
I'll motion.
I have a
Second.
motion. And a
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Roll call for money?
This is just to,
Okay.
Advertise it.
yeah. 3E, authorize preparation of an ordinance amendment of Chapter 66, Exhibit A, Section 1, to create the position of Deputy Operations Supervisor and remove of one of the Operations Supervisor positions in the Public Works Department. Brett, you want to give us a little rundown here?
Later in the agenda, we plan on promoting a Director of Public Works. His position will be vacant. We would like to fill the position with an entry-level supervisor, somebody that's not we don't have anyone on the ranks that are certified. This would give somebody in the ranks the ability to apply and move up into a management position.
Any questions, or?
No, I just wanted to make sure now on section 3 of that ordinance, we're going to be adding a full-time position.
We're removing we have 2 operations supervisors. We're going to remove one and replace one with a deputy operations.
And we're leaving out the finance assistant. What about that?
That's next.
That's the next.
That's the next one.
Is it,
Same ordinance. We're going to amend the ordinance once, but we have 3 different discussions about the same ordinance.
oh, 3 different, but it's in this packet?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, because it looks like if I vote for it, that I wasn't voting. I wanted to make sure I wasn't taking that out. I already discussed that.
We're going to discuss it next.
Okay.
I mean, should we discuss them both at the same time?
The idea of why they're separate is in case the governing body wanted to go ahead with one and not the other.
Not the other.
So once you give us direction, it'll be combined into one ordinance for introduction at the next meeting. But that
Okay.
was to give you the options.
Okay.
Understood.
Understood.
Make a motion to authorize the preparation of this ordinance?
Oh, okay.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Ayes have it. Same thing. to create the position of finance assistant in the finance department and amend the chart of organization by adding finance assistant and delete accounts payable purchasing. Brett, a little background on this?
This enables our QPA to sit for the CFO exam in 2 years. She has to hold this title for at least 2 years to be eligible to sit for the exam. There's no salary increase attached with the change in title.
Understood. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second?
Bless
God
you.
bless you.
Bless
Bless
you.
you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
There's just one question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just a little confused. Based on our discussion about what Cindy
This is a
needs.
different
different.
topic, yes.
Okay, I got it. This is just for Christie.
This is Chris.
Okay, I got it. All right.
And we're changing her
Yes.
name to assistant,
Okay, no
Finance
problem.
assistant.
yeah,
No problem.
finance assistant.
No problem.
So are we going to have another person come in to do accounts payable? She does it all?
She can't do
She's
it.
going to continue to do the same job. We're just changing her title to enable her to sit for the exam in 2 years.
Okay.
Well, when are we going to get the person that they need? That's what I'm trying to.
Sometime next year, if you approve it.
That's what I was getting at. I'm not going to make it long, Mayor. I'm not going to make this long. We cannot expect to be proficient without having the right help and to support the staff. And so this is what our discussion was, so I'm not doing nothing new. They need help in the finance department. And so I was under the impression that if I voted for this, that we were going to make sure that that was included.
This is a separate conversation.
Oh. So it's being deleted from the budget. We're not there yet.
We
We
haven't
haven't
even,
introduced the budget yet.
I mean, but, okay, all right. But they need help, and I don't think they need to wait till next year. That's my point. But I'm going to vote for this. Go ahead and call it.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. Ayes have it. Public hearing, adoption of ordinances. Ordinance 2029-2023, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank in accordance with NJSA 44514.
I just need this to be explained.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody from the public wish to speak?
This Carl, I'm all in favor of a cap bank, but I am not in favor of exceeding the municipal budget, because that's why we always get these deficits, you know?
Understood. Understood.
But we do need a cap bank. The sooner the better.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
I would like-
Anybody else?
Yeah, from the public, are you,
Motion to close the public portion?
I have a motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
closing the public portion?
Yes.
All right, can I say, ask my question?
Yeah, we closed public portion.
Okay. All right, so this is a cost of living adjustment from 2.5 to the maximum of 3.5. That's on, am I on the right page? Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Which one is this? Yeah, the cap bank. That's 4A. It's 4A, right?
Yes, 4A.
Right. I'm looking at the synopsis,
Okay.
page 1. It says it increases the amount of cost of living adjustment. Page 1. Mine says 4A unless this is,
The review sheet.
The increase
Yes.
will cost
Right,
242.
right, to the maximum of 3.5. So this is a cost of a living adjustment.
This enables us to go over the 2.5% cap, things like pensions that came up this year, health insurance, fuel costs. This is for moving forward this year in 2023.
Can we afford that? It's cost of living. Is there no choice?
We have no choice but to pay for it. We're allowed to increase the cap up to 3.5% this year.
And that's only a one-time deal, this year only. Okay.
Okay. Which would be $242,260.86.
Up to.
It says increased by 3.5.
don't say up to, that's
correct.
amounting to
Up to.
847.
It may not be that much.
913.
What?
Yes, this year.
You want to give it some background?
Oh, boy, put her under us.
First of all, I want to say this is a concept that is very difficult for the non-budget wonk to understand. The COLA ordinance speaks to the expenditure side of the budget, okay? The cap law restricts increases final appropriations by more than 2.5% of the index rate. 2.5% is what the index rate is for 2023. This ordinance allows us to bring it up to 3.5%, or the 1%, that's the 200,000 that you see in the ordinance. This ordinance also allows for the banking of any unused amounts for 2 additional years. So we bank last year, we bring the previous year that we're going to use for this year's budget. While this budget does see an unprecedented increase in certain appropriations, it limits the ability to increase these line items that we must pay. These items such as pension, insurance, fuel, solid waste removal, just to name a few. This is due to the increased line items that are greater than the 2.5% that is allowed. To this end, without passing this ordinance, the township would not be able to present a legal budget and not have the needed appropriation to make these expenditures for the 12-month period that this budget first. So by restricting that, we wouldn't be able to exceed the cap to what we need to do. And then in future years, it would cripple us in the event that we may have a one-time revenue that we want to use for a one-time expenditure. And if that one-time expenditure exceeds that 2.5% or whatever the COLA index rate is for next year, we would be limited for that because we wouldn't have that bank to use. Okay.
That's a good explanation. Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Public hearing, ordinance 2030-2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 1 through 7 and 9 through 19 in Block 98, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, and granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to the same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, and State of New Jersey. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one,
Motion to close?
Second?
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do I hear a motion to move?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, I'm sorry, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Ordinance 2031-2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 12 through 17, Block 89, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one,
Motion to
Motion to
close?
close.
hear a
Second?
motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Do I hear a motion to move?
Motion to move ordinance.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Ordinance 2032-2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 42 to 44, Block 321, as shown on the tax map, Township of Hamilton, granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public? Seeing no one. Do I hear?
Close?
Second.
I have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it.
Motion to move the ordinance, please.
I have a motion to move.
Second?
I have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Ordinance 2033-2023, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton declaring an all-terrain vehicle or dirt bike operated on a public street, highway, or right-of-way in violation of NJSA 39-3C17, an immediate threat to the public health, safety, or welfare, and designating such vehicles as contraband subject to forfeiture. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? It's a race to the microphone. Brett, can you raise that up for him? Oh, boy.
Too high.
Could you please just state your name?
Good evening. My name is Charles Rajkowski. My wife and I live at 4363 Township Avenue, and we've lived there since 1987. When we first moved to the onto Township Avenue, it was a relatively quiet street with minimal traffic. The opening of the Hamilton Mall that year brought a noticeable increase of traffic on Township Avenue as it became a cut-through to head towards the mall. The addition of the new schools up in Egg Harbor Township off of Dogwood Avenue helped increase bus traffic and traffic overall up and down Township Avenue. Over the years, the numbers of dirt bikes and quads have increased, utilizing Township Avenue to get down to the preserve, or locally known as the pits on Harbor Avenue. The onset of the pandemic saw the traffic of dirt bikes, quads, side-by-sides dramatically increase on Township Avenue, and Harbor Avenue became a drag strip. Living near the intersection of Township and Harbor Avenue, we have seen a lot, but we have heard even more. We have listened to quads, in particular running down Township Avenue at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and roaring around in the pits until 1 o'clock in the morning when they finally return and roar back up Township Avenue. Sometimes on nice weather days, the residents that live anywhere near the pits get to enjoy the sounds of the quads and the dirt bikes in the pits all day and all evening. We have witnessed groups of quads or dirt bikes either racing down Township Avenue towards Harbor Avenue or racing back up Township Avenue from Harbor Avenue towards Egg Harbor Township. We know a lot of the quads are coming out of Egg Harbor Township. We have also witnessed quads and dirt bikes on Harbor Avenue coming from the direction of Ocean Heights Avenue. We have witnessed operators pulling wheelies on both dirt bikes and quads on Township Avenue. We have witnessed groups of quads racing side by side up and down the road. We've also witnessed these vehicles being operated at incredibly stupid speeds on the street. It's obvious that these operators just don't care, just as long as they can do what they want, when they want, and how they want. These are all choices that they're making. Residents on the street have put up with quad operators maliciously pushing down mailboxes. They pull up to the mailbox post and just push it over with the quad and just keep going. Our neighbor has this done multiple times to her mailbox. Two quad operators came up from Harbor Avenue coming out of the pits about 11 o'clock one evening. One of the quad operators pulled up to the stop sign at Township and Harbor and then slowly pushed it over. The two quads then ran up Township Avenue towards A Harbor Township. Why? What's the purpose? These could have easily caused an accident at that intersection with the stop sign down. Have we witnessed operators who have come down the street slowly and cautiously? Yes. Yes, we have. Some we have exchanged waves with, trying to keep everything friendly. But we have also watched adults who have operated on the street slowly, but with children on board, and at times with no helmets, just an accident waiting to happen. I know several of my neighbors operate and enjoy quads or dirt bikes. I personally don't have any issue with these toys, but there's a time and place for everything. At issue are vehicles that aren't legally allowed to be operated on the street, using public roadways and sometimes across private property, heading to a spot that motor vehicles are not legally allowed or authorized to be in for their own fun and enjoyment. Unfortunately, if you don't live along one of the feeder roadways leading to the pits, this issue doesn't mean much to you or the quality of life, or your quality of life isn't being disturbed or impacted. But if you live along parts of Ocean Heights Avenue, Harbor Avenue, Township Avenue, West Jersey, Riga Avenue, it is a quality of life issue for many. I, for one, am cautious of too much government reach or overreach in general. However, there doesn't appear to be too much bite in the available law or its application to provide law enforcement all the tools to combat this behavior. This ordinance is just one more tool that they could choose to utilize if and when necessary, which is why I support it. I understand from public comment online that one resident who is opposed to the proposed ordinance is an instructor for ATVs. I commend him for that, for trying to teach the proper and safe use and care when operating one of these machines. Hopefully he's also trying to instill that they are not to be operated on the roadways or other people's personal property or places where they are prohibited. Once he has done that, his job is over. The choice of how, where, and when to operate the ATV belongs to the individual rider, as do the consequences. For the record, I would be in favor of the township or the county exploring alternative areas for ATVs to be utilized, which obviously would require them to be trailered to and from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much better. Thank you. My name is Maureen Richvalsky. That's my husband that just spoke. And I was here before you at a previous meeting. We've lived on Township Avenue for 35 years. Township is a paved, 1-mile-long road, 25 miles an hour, and it's zoned residential with 31 houses on it. It's not a busy area. During the last meeting, I came before you along with multiple neighbors in support of this ordinance, seeking relief from harassment and hazards of the persistent, and we're trying to make you understand how persistent this is, off-road vehicles utilizing Township Avenue and Harbor Avenue to access the wildlife sanctuary for recreational purposes. I can't state firmly enough that these vehicles are not permitted on the roadway, and they are not permitted in the sanctuary. So there's absolutely no legal reason for them to be there. Every weekend, many weather permitting nights, large quads, dirt bikes race up the road, and they come very quickly up the road to get into the sanctuary before the police can spot them. I have no doubt that they know they're not permitted to be on the roadway. They neither abide by the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, nor do they stop at the stop signs. The riders in the groups use the full width of the roadway along with the shoulder and or the frontage of the properties of residents. We've seen mailboxes, shrubs, flower beds destroyed without any regard for the residents that live there. They head into the nature preserve at all different times of the day and leave at all different times of the night. And it's not uncommon that it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. The noise is beyond excessive. And the ignorance of the operators is very bold. It's very flagrant. They're not intimidated at all. And that's the reason we come before you with this, to support this ordinance. This ordinance puts a little more muscle because clearly these individuals are not intimidated enough to stop that behavior based on the laws that are in place right now. They're not intimidated by that. As a resident and a taxpayer, I don't feel like I should be obligated to tolerate it. We've been told again and again, you call the police, there's really nothing we can do, we can't get there to them, we don't chase them. And when they do catch them, it's a slap on the wrist if they impound the vehicle, and then it's given back. The concept that you might purchase a vehicle for your own entertainment or $10,000 or $20,000 and lose it for utilizing it where it's not legally allowed to be would be the meat behind the laws that we have, because clearly individuals, they're breaking the law flagrantly, and we have to have, meaningful penalties. And I'm not in favor of, Big Brother, but this has become something where the laws that are in place right now have become ineffective. So we ask you we're seeking this council to at least put some meat behind it so that we could get somewhat of a break. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Akers.
Good evening. Fred Akers from the Great Egg Harbor River Council tonight. I just have a quick statement I'm going to read. On December 20, 2021, the New Jersey Senate and the New Jersey General Assembly voted to pass Senate Bill S-4080 and General Assembly Bill A-6088, which authorized municipalities to address certain unlawful operation of all-terrain vehicles and dirt bikes through seizure and, in some circumstances, destruction of vehicles. 39 state senators voted for this with none voting against, and 59 members of the General Assembly voted for this with only 10 voting against. So evidently, unlawful operations of all-terrain vehicles and dirt bikes have become such an immediate threat to public safety, health, and welfare statewide that our state elected officials have provided New Jersey municipalities with a new tool to help deter this immediate threat. To date, a number of municipalities have experienced serious problems with the proliferation of unlawful ATV and dirt bike operators, and they have found it necessary to pass these ordinances recommended by the state for seizure and destruction of those threatening vehicles. Egg Harbor Township, Woodbine, Pleasantville, Absecon, Atlantic City, Vineland, and Millville are some of the South Jersey municipalities that have adopted these ordinances to protect public safety. Unlawful ATV and dirt operations are rampant here in the township of Hamilton. In addition to the Gravelly Run and Harbor Avenue area, they are in the Industrial Park, Cologne Avenue Park, Strawberry Fields, Makepeace Wildlife Management Area, Holly Street, Dresden Avenue, 3rd Avenue in Mizpah, Indian Branch, Thelma Avenue, Sugar Hill Subs, and 40 Wire Road. The increasing unlawful use of ATVs and dirt bikes is causing an increasing disrespect for the rule of law and public safety in our municipalities, teaching our children that laws are made to be broken, lowering property values, putting people at risk of injury, causing vandalism, and damaging public and private property. The idea that unlawful riders would use legal ATV parks is a myth perpetuated to reduce enforcement and deterrence and cultivate sympathy for continued unlawful operations. Now is a good time to start enforcing existing laws and implementing new laws to reduce unlawful ATV and dirt bike operators here in the Township of Hamilton. We fully support the passage and implementation of ordinance number 2033, and we look forward to continuing to work with the Township of Hamilton to deter and reduce unlawful ATV and dirt bike operations. So thank you for bringing this up. Please vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Donna Hare, and I also live on Township Avenue.
I have some pictures, if you would like to see some pictures of what they've done to our street signs, our stop signs, and our front lawns. I have to say that before COVID hit, although the ATVs were noisy, there were not as many. They did their own thing, and there wasn't as much of a problem with them on the public streets and private property. Once COVID hit, it became a different story. Contrary to Ms. Vino's story 2 weeks ago about it being diesel trucks, these tracks are about a half as wide as a truck and were by no means street vehicles based on the tire tracks, which are in the pictures. They have taken out our mailboxes several times, mine along with many of my neighbors. At one point, it was every Friday night. I would put up a new mailbox and poll on Saturday, and 1 week later, the whole thing was down again. I gave up and had my mail delivered to someone else's house. Not only was it frustrating, but it was about $200 every time they took it out. I wish they had been caught at that point, since it's a federal crime and can be punishable by up to $250,000 in fines and 3 years in prison. In addition to my mailbox, I've had my shrubs ripped up, donuts on my front lawn, and all by ATVs that are not supposed to be riding in the street or on the New Jersey Land Trust. Not all of these ATVs even come from Hamilton Township. That means they're riding at least a mile from the corner of Township and Harbor to the corner of Township and Grand, and coming from Egg Harbor Township. I've seen adults, teens without adults, 9 and 10-year-olds without parents, and young children with parents all riding down the street. Some of these parents with 4 or 5-year-olds with them on smaller ATVs by themselves. Very few ever stop at the stop sign, and instead they run along Hamilton Avenue, or they ran that over along with the Hamilton Township sign. If you choose to buy something for personal entertainment, and in this case an ATV, then purchase the property to create your trails and have a blast. You don't need to break the law and destroy things that don't belong to you, like the New Jersey Land Trust, street signs, and private property. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Pucci, 828 Harrison Avenue. I also own 900 feet along Township Road. Hi, Bob. I'm here to support this ordinance. This has been a problem in my neighborhood for many, many years. I've lived at that property for 37 years. Just about this time of year, especially on the weekends, you do have these motorized vehicles come in and race 50 miles an hour up and down the street on Sundays and at nighttime in the evenings. It's been a problem with the noise, and they've also jetted into my woods and made trails that weren't there before and trespassed on my property. They are unsafe, they are unregistered, and they are uninsured. Now, you do have an exception in your ordinance that's proposed tonight for slow-moving vehicles. They are authorized vehicles that have turn signals, that have lights, and have brakes. These vehicles, they don't have any of that. They're not insured. And they play chicken with you. They come down in front of you, and they stay in front of you as long as they can and swerve at the last minute. So if anybody sneezes, if either them or the operator of the car, you have a fatality on your hands. And we all know that there has been fatalities in South Jersey with ATVs on the public roads. Some other vehicles that I would like to bring to your attention are go-karts. They're only 6 inches from the road. And if a vehicle would hit a go-kart, all you're going to have left is pulled pork. They're going to be killed. And that has happened on my street. Somebody had a go-kart and was running around until I signed enough complaints that they stopped. So I would ask for your consideration that maybe the specific item, vehicle, go-kart, should also be in this ordinance. Also, I have 3 golf carts on my road that aren't mentioned in this ordinance. Golf carts cannot be registered, they cannot be insured, but yet they travel up and down my street at night, and somebody could run into them because, again, they don't have lights. So I would ask your consideration to have golf carts in this ordinance for the same safety reasons as ATVs and motorbikes, and also go-karts. Also, one last thing, well, 2 more things. How does the committee want to handle riding mowers? I own 2,000 feet along Township and Harrison Avenue, and quite frequently, all through the spring and the summer and the fall, I cut the grass, make it look nice. I pick up the litter because the township doesn't get out there that often, and I cut the grass. So what consideration do you have, and can that consideration be placed in this ordinance that maybe for maintenance reasons on the right-of-way to cut the grass, that they would be acceptable, so there's not a situation down the line that you could get in trouble for cutting grass along your property? Oh, and lastly, I would ask the committee to provide information if and when this ordinance is passed, what your plans are specifically to notify the public that you can no longer do this. If you would consider some signs out there with an ATV on it, with the cross, with the slash in it, just to let them know, hey, guess what? You can't do this anymore. So I'd like to know what the committee would do passing this ordinance, the plan to inform the public that this is no longer allowed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Roby, 309 Farragut Avenue. I just wanted to add my support to this ordinance. I think it's well needed. They run up and down Farragut Avenue a lot. Second and Third Street I see them on. I think they're going over the Bigelow Preserve over there behind the school. So I see them back there. I see them, at the various wildlife management areas, which are not part of this, but they're just trashing places, driving, where they don't need to be. They're illegal. That's the first thing. They are illegal in most places. If people want to have these vehicles, they can buy a big chunk of land and ride on their own land and not destroy our land. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Julie Akers from Newtonville. I'm the representative of the Great Egg Harbor River Council from Buena Vista Township. I see our municipal township river council members are also here. What I wanted to bring up, in addition to what everybody else has said, is this is something that our Watershed Association and River Council is promoting watershed-wide. So you're not alone in this. I brought this up to my municipality. It's gotten really out of hand, and I think this is the time now that we have a good chance of hopefully reining some of this in. in respect to this specific ordinance. This basically, as your police chief mentioned at the last meeting, this gives us an extra tool to be able to say that vehicle that you purchased for $10,000 to $20,000, you know, if you don't care about operating it legally on your own property or in a place that you're allowed to operate it in, you are going to lose it. And furthermore, if it's being operated in a manner that can do damage to yourself or to somebody else, that's about the public safety part, or to property damage to somebody's property that's not their own, then that can be treated as contraband. That's really the only thing that is new about this ordinance. You haven't been able to drive these things on public streets, rights of way, the sides of these roads. You haven't been able to do that. If they're licensed and insured, you can cross very strategically at certain spots to get from, say, one field to the other, and I think that was tailored to agricultural needs. So this is one more tool to really probably convince people. We talk a lot of times about kids, and it's not just about kids, it's about adults. Adults should certainly know better. Adults are also responsible for their kids to know better. I have a couple of personal things I think is one of the reasons I've been so active in this, you know, this issue, besides loving the natural areas. But I personally live on a dirt road. It's a public road, it's a dirt road, and it is ripped up by quads, racing up and down. Dirt bikes, mostly quads. And if I pull out of my driveway, I have to be really careful. I got 4 grandkids in a vehicle. I go to pull out, and I don't want to hit one of them. I don't want them to hit me. I have had personal experience. One time on a road coming, coming out of Winslow, I'm in a car with a couple of grandkids. A kid runs right through the intersection on a dirt bike, leaves a tire track on the front rim of my car. Knocks him over. I'm like, you know, what's going on here? My kids in the back are crying. And this kid, you know, gets up and goes off. His bike, you know, his tire's a little crooked, but he just rides off. He knows he wasn't supposed to. One story. The second story is I was a substitute teacher in Buna schools. And we live on this dirt road. The neighbors next door had friends over. I'm in my class in the middle school. An 8th grade kid is in a wheelchair. And he says, "Mrs. Akers, don't you know me?" And I said, "Huh?" He says, "I ran into that pole in front of your house." I'm like, "What?" He says, "You know, I was over with my friend, and I ran into that pole." There's a kid, 8th grade kid, who's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So I worry about hitting somebody. There's a kid who really kind of, he didn't kill himself, but he is set for life to be in that wheelchair. So I think that this is about safety. It's about the, you know, protecting your property, protecting others. I sure do not want to hit somebody and really hurt them. I would, you know, what's that going to do to this person who's hitting them? But I also want to let you know it's not just Hamilton Township. Egg Harbor Township is on board with this. Buena Vista is on board. We have state police. We're working with state police to try to figure out a way. It's good that you've got your local police here, but we will be making this a bigger issue. So hopefully we'll get some good press. Somebody mentioned, you know, the signage, ATV with the crosses through them. And I think once the word gets out that we do mean business, not, you know, not racing them down, that's not going to happen, but we do mean some business, going to get the attention and hopefully quash some of this. So thank you very much, and we're here to, you know, back you up too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Susan Diefenbeck, 829 Harrison Avenue. I hear the quads racing all the time, and there is one group that is obnoxious. You heard the stories, and they're out there. But there's also families, decent kids, that aren't bothering anyone. There are laws on the books, and those laws say they shouldn't be doing these things. Those laws aren't being followed. If you go ahead and put something on like this, where we're going to take your property, we're in trouble. Because in the state of New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, they're not allowed to chase ATVs or dirt bikes, the police. Am I right? Okay? They're not allowed to chase them. They know it out there. Look what's happening in Pleasantville and Egg Harbor Township. As soon as they see a cop, they put the pedal to the metal. They're gone. Causing a bigger problem. Being more dangerous, trying to get out of that law because they don't want to lose their property. So we already have these laws. By putting this extra on there, it's making it worse. Because now they're going to run. And they're going to run harder. And they're going to run faster. So I think it's overkill. I think the signage is good because we already have laws to support those signs. But I think that's going a step too far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, Olivia Graham, Collection Hill Road. Just listening to everyone, I know that this is an issue. My kids have also ridden quads, ridden dirt bikes. We had property. They had permissive use at other properties. They were also on a public road, told to get off. They did. They started walking them to where it was that they were going to go. I really feel for everyone that's having a problem, for people that are abusing it. The only problem that I'm seeing with the ordinance is, has it been challenged constitutionally in other areas? And if so, if maybe a written warning can be written into the ordinance because of a failure to warn issue. You don't want any taxpayer litigation down the road. We don't want to be sucked into anything where we're going to wind up paying more money out in the long run. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? A motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against?
We-
Anybody wish to move this ordinance?
Yeah, so moved. I just have a question.
I have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Just a question. We pride ourselves in being New Jersey's largest municipality. Is there anything that we could do to move these ATVs into a different location so they would not be in residential areas? That's question one. And question two, I do see the chief here, but I didn't see him signing this, asking for this. And so I just want to make sure that you were in favor of this because you're going to be the one that has to enforce it.
No.
State your name for the record.
Speaking tonight. I'm definitely in favor of it. Some of the concerns that were brought up, I'm not too worried about. The fact of the matter is that the individuals that this law is going to really, or this ordinance is going to really affect are the ones that are already running from us anyway. You know, we're going to try to identify them, and we're going to try to get their bikes and get them off the streets. It's not the family that's, you know, going on the side of the roadway trying to get from point A to point B. It's discretionary, so that's what you guys have to keep in mind also. So any Title 39 violations are discretionary, and we're going to file the same suit with this ordinance. We're going to do what's right for this situation, and every situation is different. So I am very much in support of this.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Is there any way we could station a patrol car near these
I
areas?
have patrol cars all over this township dealing with this same issue. It's all over. It's in Laureldale. It's, you know, in Cologne area of the township. It's up in Misbah. It's all over. Like Dr. Witherspoon said, we're the biggest municipality in the state of New Jersey. We have a lot of woods that these bikes they like to drive in. So.
If a person makes a complaint and can identify the vehicle and what the person looks like, Is that anything that would be helpful?
I would say if we can identify what the person looks like, get videos or pictures of them, get, that we can confirm that it is them, I think we have a good chance in arguing our point in court.
Do you think that if you take, if they realize you're really serious, that it wouldn't take more than a couple of vehicles taken into custody, that it would send a message?
My phone's been blowing up ever since this was introduced at the last meeting. People have to do the right thing, and unfortunately, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that aren't doing the right thing. This is one more tool, like I said at the last meeting, in our toolbox that we can use to combat this issue, and that's what we're going to do. Our hands are tied to chase these vehicles, but if we can identify them, we don't have to catch them at that point that they're riding on the street. If we can identify that they were on that street and they are riding it, then we can try to prosecute and try to seize that motorcycle or that all-terrain vehicle at a later time.
So I think one of the misconceptions that I'm hearing is there won't be due process. You're just going to take the bike and we're going to take it out back with a couple of
No,
sledgehammers.
there's a whole
and
forfeiture
smash it up.
process, has to go through the prosecutor's office. There's a whole
Correct.
gamut of things that have to be done before that can happen.
Understood.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
I agree with what the chief says. This is another tool that can be used. Hopefully, like Mrs. Link said, once this happens a couple of times, the word's going to get out. And then hopefully that will curb people from going to certain areas. And also maybe it'll get people to just slow down and not be crazy down the street. And so as to not bring so much attention to themselves so that they can get to wherever they want to ride. Hopefully those places are legal places to ride.
Do we have any legal places in
There's
Hamilton
plenty of
County?
legal places. If you own the property and you got permission, somebody has permission to ride there, you can ride there.
So it's the individual landowner, it isn't a regular business?
Yeah,
that
there's
would,
no businesses in the township that allow, no.
Egg Harbor
Egg Harbor Township has one.
Yeah, they do. It's a nice one, too.
Egg Harbor Township has the PAL site
PAL
on
site.
Ridge Avenue that you have to trailer it there and you can ride them.
Right, now, who, is that established by an independent business, or is it a,
That's Egg Harbor Township PAL, Police Athletic
It's a,
League. Yes, and
okay,
they run
so-
their own, I guess you would say, business operating that.
well, the EHT municipal government did not fund it, but it was
Correct.
funded by the PAL?
Correct.
Okay.
But it would be nice if we could do something like that to give an alternative, to get the ATV people out of the neighborhoods. We should have a designated area. Something that we could look into, maybe in the future.
Well, that would be acquiring land, you
It's
know.
it's mine.
It would not be something that our municipality would have to babysit, so to speak, make sure everyone is following the rules. If it's done by a group or a nonprofit group who really feel as though they would donate part of their land, and it would be feasible to do that, they could charge for people coming in.
I think we're getting away from where we're supposed to be here.
Yeah, but,
We're in a pub, yeah.
Saying the notice went out like this, I think we need to stick to the ordinance.
well,
I agree.
yeah, we're,
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Ordinance 2034-2023, bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction of the township's fueling station located at 5500 Atlantic Avenue, Township of Hamilton, in the County of Atlantic, New Jersey, appropriating $500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $475,000 bonds or notes of the township for financing the cost thereof. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak?
Eileen Dix. I think when Brett explained this 2 weeks ago, he said that we will be reimbursed by insurance. Does that mean you anticipate borrowing $500,000, and as the work is done, you are advancing payment to the contractor, and then the records, the invoices will be sent to the insurance company to get the reimbursement? Is that what the anticipated plan is?
Yes.
Yes.
Then my question is, because that's what I thought would be the path, when the reimbursement comes in, will you use the reimbursement against this $500,000 bond and therefore retire the bond and not let it go to, like at the recent meeting where 3 bond ordinances were liquidated into some other use that was not the original intention? So I wouldn't want to see any more money getting borrowed, not getting spent, and then getting liquidated to some future project.
That was the intent, to reimburse the bond and get rid of the bond.
And then retire the bond. If there's unspent money, you can use the unspent money to help retire the bond, not spend it on something else.
That's my intention.
That's what we're all understanding. That's good, thank you.
Okay,
This is still under public.
oh, it's under public?
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one?
Close.
I have a
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Public is closed. Do I hear a motion to move?
I have,
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second.
I'd like to just speak on this for one moment. In the reimbursement by the insurance company, are we going to have to haggle with them, saying that indeed this is what the bills are, this is what the prices are? Or do we
We're
have to
working
hire
with
a
the-
public adjuster, in other words?
We have our LSRP is going to be working with the insurance company to make sure that all the work is covered.
Okay.
Before we
All right, so it,
we
yeah,
authorize the work
all
to be
right.
done.
So it'll be hand in glove. Okay.
Very good.
Just one question, the insurance is going to cover the entire part of this? How much will they
Insurance-
cover?
The insurance is going to cover the cleanup part of this. That's what this is for.
This is only for the cleanup,
This
so
is
if
for the
there's
cleanup.
contamination,
No, this is for the contamination.
and just the cleanup, but not the tanks?
It would only cover if pieces of the tank or the tanks themselves
Mhm.
are faulty or need to be replaced as part of this claim.
Okay, and what is the duration of the tanks?
They have a warranty for 30 years. They're on their 29th year right now.
So, okay, so my question would be, could we, I'm going to support this, but I wanted to know, I didn't want to get the notes for this, and then a year later, we got to go do the tanks. I mean, since we're so close, is there any way that we could look into that, too?
We're looking into that, right? Obviously, since the warranty's going to be up, we need to budget if we're going to replace the tanks. We would like to put them above ground, not back in the ground. But this is something that we're going to have to budget for moving forward.
All right, thank you.
I have a motion to second.
Question.
Oh, go ahead.
Is the warranty prorated?
Is it prorated? From the time,
From 30 years, 29 years? I'm sure it is.
I
yeah.
hope so.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
We have no introduction of ordinances. We have no bids, contracts, change orders.
No, we,
You do.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we do. My bad.
Jump the gun here.
We have resolutions for 2023 temporary budget amendment. These amendment, well, Cindy, you want to come up and give us some background on this, please?
Yeah, okay.
You have a presentation to award a contract for Riggins. That's for $75,000. We need to amend the temporary budget so that I can certify the funds to award that contract.
Gotcha.
And it would just be amending it to include that. The overall budget obviously is much higher than that. But this is just for that gasoline part, yes.
Okay, so we have to approve this resolution before we go to the next.
Make a motion to move the resolution.
I have a motion,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Approve the leasing of temporary fuel tanks and the fuel on a month-to-month basis to Riggins Incorporated of Vineland, New Jersey, for an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Motion.
I hear a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Just a question. It's just one small question. Is this just for us?
yes.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you. Us meaning Hamilton Township.
Oh, this is
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
On to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just quickly for the record.
You may.
Thanks. I just wanted to note for the record that because the committee passed resolution 23-0110 declaring an emergency with respect to the fuel contamination of the public works site, we were able to award that without bidding it. You can do a direct contract under those circumstances.
How much was that? You were able to award?
Yeah, I just wanted to put on the record that you didn't have to bid that one.
Right.
Because the emergency was declared by the committee back
Okay.
on
On what
February
we-
21st.
Yeah.
What we just did.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. I'm good with everything.
Move the consent agenda A through E.
I have a motion to move consent agenda A through E. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hear a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Shanker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
8A, appoint Christopher Tilley as Public Works Director at $95,000 annually effective March 21st, 2023.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Just one question. Now, I don't have a problem with his appointment and salary, but the on-call compensation in the amount of $3,396.47 until such time as replacement on-call responder is appointed. Is this for every on-call?
No.
Okay, that's, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say this is for the year. It just says on-call compensation, which means to me that every time that he's called, he's gonna get that amount.
Oh, come on
He would-
now.
Oh,
No, it does say that.
His wife says she wants that.
I know she do. I don't blame her. I would want it too. I'm just wanting to make sure.
No.
Mama's
I
giving you
just, it didn't say prorated, it just said on-call compensation in the amount of. That's all it said. It didn't say annually, it didn't say, prorated, it didn't say any of that. I just wanted to make sure.
So continue to receive
Go
on-call
ahead.
compensation.
If that's per call, I'm going back to public works.
He's gonna go back to public.
This is prorated on this will be prorated when we replace Chris. He won't be on call anymore, and that person will pick up where he left off on the on-call rotation.
So it will be prorated. It's,
Yes.
okay.
So is there an hourly compensation for that on-call?
No,
No?
no, it's just,
Okay, it's just saying he'll be on call, and at the end of the year or throughout the year, he'll receive that money.
yes.
Okay.
Chris will still be on call, we're just not going to pay him.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything for you, Chris?
Now, I don't mind paying him now. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just each call.
No, we're not
All
paying
right,
him.
thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Absolutely.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
8B, appointment of Planning Board Class 2 member. This is the mayor's appointment of Class 2 member to the Planning Board, and I am appointing Warren DeGrossa.
We can applaud him, huh?
No.
Thank you for taking this position, Warren. Approvals. Minutes, regular meeting minutes from March 6, 2023.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Minutes, executive session meeting minutes of March 6, 2023.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Bill list, total $1,858,855.31.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Mayor Patali?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Reports. Mr. Administrator.
I just want to congratulate Chris. The transition will definitely be seamless. Public Works is in good hands. Thank you for the approval.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Engineer.
You have a copy, I hope, of our March 16 topics. If you have any questions, there's just some updates on some of the road programs, submitting review to DOT, and some applications for grant, specifically the Underhill Park 88 grant for through the town. So, comments or questions?
Good.
All good?
Thank you.
Committee members. We'll start with Dr. Witherspoon.
Just a short report. One, I did sign up for the alerts. I think that's through the police department. Yeah, and I really do like that because that tells me, if there's an accident on the road or something that's going on in the township. And I did do that, and I do like that. So I wanted to say that. And I wanted to report that I went to the New Jersey League of Municipalities budget training on Saturday, on March the 11th. And that was held at the Conference Center at Mercer in West Windsor, New Jersey. And it was very informative. I was glad to be there, and I just wanted to report that I did that.
Thank you.
Very good.
Mrs. Link.
Well, I did recommend to have everyone go to the flower show, and so I in that sense, I had to go. And it was one fantastic experience. So I hope other people in the township supported the Philadelphia Flower Show. On a more serious note, I've been receiving a number of calls from concerned citizens, residents, regarding the redevelopment in general, and especially the proposed Trophy Park development. We have discussed this issue at public, televised township committee meetings, and have heard residents oppose the redevelopment ordinance and the Trophy Park development. If we are to hold a subcommittee meeting in private, I believe it gives the public the impression that something is nefarious is going on by switching meetings on the topic to private ones. I am sure we all wish to be transparent. So based on the previous discussions being in public, the existence of public interest and dissent regarding the issues, I make a motion that the subcommittee on redevelopment, rehabilitation, and/or Trophy Park be public with the meeting and comments recorded and televised. And that is a motion, and
Second.
Thelma will second it.
I did.
I'll comment on that. I don't understand why a subcommittee meeting would be public. It's part of the process of, we made the meeting public to find out how the public felt about the redevelopment ordinance. We have a lot of feedback that we got from the public, and it is time to sit at a round table and discuss it with those people who can answer the questions that were posed. And also, you know, some of the things that were brought up were distances away from the affected homes or the affected area. It isn't just that simple. We talked about 1,000 feet. It's not that simple. There's laws that are in place. We have to research all those laws, and there's a lot of discussion that's going to take place. I really can't believe you used the word nefarious. That's bringing into light something that makes it seem like we're doing something wrong when what we're doing is absolutely right. And we are trying to change this ordinance and mold this ordinance a better ordinance that works best for the township. One of the most important things that we're looking into is making sure that everybody that comes before the township for redevelopment comes before this body and before the public. That is something that is going to happen. The result of those meetings will come back in front of the people, and they will be told everything that has happened. So
Okay, but for instance, your opinion is one, and I have another opinion.
Judy, could you please not interrupt me?
I'm sorry
Thank
you
you.
interrupted me.
I appreciate that. If we're having a subcommittee, the whole idea of a subcommittee is to take two committee members and put them with a group of people who are somewhat experts on this. If we're going to have an open public meeting, then why did we create the subcommittee? Because that puts all five of us up here to discuss this.
Well, that could, we already established the subcommittee. The subcommittee is to talk about that which is proper for Hamilton Township and for all the different zoning areas of the township. And to put everything under redevelopment is, to me, disingenuous, and it really hasn't yielded that much since 2018. So I think that these points should be well made before the public and not just in a private meeting.
And they will be made in the public when it comes up to this committee. It will be discussed publicly there. But as Mr. Schenker said, it's to sit down with all of with the various people that are on that committee, that subcommittee, and you can hash some things out. And it'll be much easier for somebody to be on their computer, get online, and look for some information that may be needed. Whereas if we're all sitting here trying to hash all that out, in front of the public and with us, that's like Mr. Shanker said, this is the idea of a subcommittee to go look at things and bring those ideas to the table, to the whole committee, and then we can discuss them all there.
So-
And it'll make it, I would think it would make it a more fluid, quicker operation, hopefully.
As long as everything in the subcommittee is recorded and sent to all the members of this, committee, I think that would be fair. But we're going to have anyone taking minutes and during the subcommittee meeting? It is a controversial subject. And so that's why I made that motion.
I wouldn't be opposed to recording the meeting. I don't know.
We have nothing to hide.
Yeah,
I don't understand why this is such a cloak and dagger subject.
I mean, the whole reason why we're at the position where we are at now is because of some things that went on previously. So I think it's pretty obvious that we're trying to be as open and transparent as possible.
I was under the impression that the subcommittee, like Mr. Shanker said, maybe come up with the rules to notify 1,000 feet, to clarify basically the rules and procedure, not the rule on individual applicants. That was my impression. Was I right or wrong?
The outline that we talked about having someone present it to our, committee was the first step in all these redevelopment schemes. And to put our whole township under redevelopment is disingenuous. And I feel as though I've researched this, and I know since 2018, when Art was the mayor, that we all voted for it. It sounded like it was a wonderful thing, but I don't see where it really has yielded us the tax revenue that we would want to have happen. And so I think there's more to it than that. And so that's what I hope to come from the subcommittee as well.
I mean, a motion and a second was made, but I don't know what it was made for. To make this subcommittee meetings
So that everyone can.
public?
Yes.
So to disband the subcommittee because it would no longer exist and just have another public meeting. That has to be the motion.
Well, that's not the motion that I made. The subcommittee on redevelopment and rehabilitation and/or Trophy Park be public with the meeting and comments recorded and televised. It's on, it's a motion. I'm not changing my motion.
Mr. Mayor, I asked a question, is the subcommittee to establish the rules and procedures of the redevelopment and the rehabilitation, not to do individual applicants? Is that correct?
It's just it's to review the redevelopment ordinance.
Ordinance, exactly. It's not
It's to review it.
reviewing a particular project.
Right.
It's reviewing to, instead of 250 feet, it's 1,000 feet, stuff
Well,
like that.
well,
But
it's to
not
make,
just that,
to
but-
make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's not to, it's not
Subcommittee cannot make
to
any changes.
Yeah, there's gonna be
interview
no changes will be made.
applicants or anything of that nature. It's just to review the
review-
procedures, the rules and procedure of
To-
redevelopment,
To
rehabilitation.
review the redevelopment ordinance.
Okay.
That's what it's
Yeah.
for.
So I just want to make one comment so everybody's clear on this. And I think everybody out there who's ever watched one of these meetings knows how passionate I am about this. And one of the reasons is, when I sat on Township Committee and the mall decided to revalue itself, it was valued at $90 million, it went to $75 million, then it went to $55 million, and it sold for $25 million. That's your ratables. Even after that happened, what, in 2019, somebody helped me, it was around that time, we are still $30 million in the hole on ratables. Somebody said to me the other day, ratables are up. Yeah, well, that's true, they're up this year. But we still didn't make it back to where we were in 2019. Do away with this ordinance, you will never get back there. It's that simple. Towns around us have it, they use it. Ours needs to be adjusted. I will agree with that. There is no question in my mind. I'm fully aware that some of the things that were not held in check in the last couple years need to go back. We need to have an outline, operating procedure of how this all works, and we need to put that in the ordinance so it cannot be changed. We didn't do that before, and it got changed. You can't have that. We have to take the information we got from that meeting back to the committee and make a clear, concise decisions on how this will work best going forward, and bring it back to the committee and bring it back to you all so you can all see how we're making the changes that we need to make this better. We need ratables, period.
So my concern here, just thinking very quickly, so we start this, and we go down this road of opening subcommittee meetings up to the public, recording them, putting them online. Who's to say, so somebody from the public's gonna come up and say, how come we're not allowed in the subcommittee meetings for the budget? I wanna start showing up at your little budget meetings that you have. I wanna start showing up at your dam committee meetings. Where does it end? I don't think this is a road that we want to go down. These are working subcommittee meetings to try to hammer out some issues, and then you present them to the whole committee. This is something that's been going on for years and years and years for many other different committees, for different boards. One question I have for our solicitor, if we were to do that, would you have to open it up for public comment?
Well, Mr. Mayor, you read my mind. What I want to do is I want to take a look at the ordinances and the rules governing these subcommittees. It may require an ordinance to make these changes. I don't really know. I need to look into it. This wasn't something that was on the agenda. I'm not prepared to discuss it.
Well, the reason I want to have this as an open forum is because we all we have our very strong opinions, and I've reached out to our neighboring Egg Harbor Township, and what they did not make everything under redevelopment. They were, they did it on a one-to-one basis, where if they felt it needed the extra help for redevelopment, like we have done for the cotton mill and for the racetrack. I know it's very difficult to get ratables, but I don't think that every one who wants to do something in here has to go through the expense of redevelopment. Why can't they just go to the planning board?
They can.
Well, it has been that we push everyone to the redevelopment.
I haven't pushed anybody since I've been mayor.
Well, when you make the entire Hamilton Township as redevelopment,
I'll be honest with you, that's only if they want to go redevelopment. Where you have Gravelly Run, where the new Starbucks is, that site right there,
yeah,
they were eligible for redevelopment, and they didn't apply for it. They went through planning the regular, normal way, through all the site plan approvals, everything, never applied for redevelopment, went through the planning and zoning and everything, that's an area that would have been pegged if you separate the whole township and they still didn't go through it.
They-
They don't have to go through redevelopment.
Okay,
No one
well,
has
this
to.
is what we,
And
want
we have to agree on the redevelopment.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah, but
individual,
we
it's not a
very
blanket.
easily were, talked into giving an MOU for redevelopment, which, when you look at redevelopment and they said, oh, we're not zoning board people. We're just going through the process of redevelopment, and they were saying that a huge swath of the 5A was okay to consider.
The MOU just allows them to start an escrow account, and then our professionals can charge against that particular project. We're not forcing everyone to do that,
No,
no.
it seems like we are, so.
Can we table her suggestion?
So
I mean,
there was-
because we don't have, it's, like you said, it's not on our agenda, we don't,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't noticed, it's not on the agenda. There are different rules and procedures that apply to these subcommittees that I would like to research before before the committee votes on that. There has been a motion and a second, so I think there has to be a vote on that. But I always bring the motion later if it fails today.
I say, I guess we'll vote on it. All those in favor?
You have to-
Well, can
What?
I clarify? If we vote no, that means it can come up next meeting, we can put it on the agenda after you research it. Is that correct?
My understanding, Rita?
No, I thought if we vote no, it's either yes, we're going to allow it, or no, we're not going to allow.
Well, if Ms. Link would agree to table
No.
it, then I
Table?
could research it, and we can come back and talk about it next time.
Are you
Or you
agreeable to
could
that?
rescind
Can we
it.
table this?
You can
Yeah.
rescind your motion, and you can rescind
So that our
your second.
solicitor can look into this, so that we're not getting into trouble?
And that would be my advice, but that's,
But we will revisit it,
Yeah.
correct?
Put it on, yeah, I would say, put
Okay,
it officially on the agenda next meeting.
okay.
so Ms. Link, would you rescind your motion in that case?
She has to motion to table it now, correct?
No, I thought she's rescinding it, two different
okay.
things. Did you want to table it, or do you want to rescind it?
I would prefer to table it because then it could come back on the next agenda.
You're changing your motion.
No.
She's not changing her motion.
She can't table her own motion.
Yeah.
I mean, she can rescind it,
Yes, she can.
and then we can bring it up next time,
Yes, she
after I
can.
have a chance to look at it. I'm not so sure you can table at this point, but
I think what you have, I think what has to be done is you have to propose a resolution, or,
so
Yep.
that would be,
I'm sure our solicitor can answer this.
I mean, that would be the easiest way to proceed from here. If you would agree to withdraw the motion for the time being, let me research it prior to the next meeting, and then we can discuss it, and everyone can be prepared at that time.
So in the meanwhile, are we going to have a subcommittee meeting?
I don't know what the schedule is. I simply want to look at how these subcommittees were set up, what the rules and procedures governing them are, and whether this can even be addressed by resolution or does it require an ordinance. I mean, this was not noticed to the public, it wasn't part of the agenda, so you kind of caught me flat-footed on this. If I had been advised that this was going to come up ahead of
Yeah,
time,
well,
I would have researched to have answers for you.
yeah, but you don't, I have the right to make a motion during my comments, so.
Yes, you do.
You withdraw?
But if we're going to hold off and wait till you rule on this, then we can't have a
Can't vote on it.
subcommittee meeting in the
Right.
meantime. Because that would be a waste.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I don't see why they can't have a subcommittee meeting. These are regulated by Open Public Meetings Law and JSA 10:4. They can have a subcommittee meeting. I don't think there's anything to stop it making it more transparent. There's a subcommittee form, they have a meeting, you're well within the law. As far as Committeewoman Link's motion, we can vote it out, or you can withdraw it. But there still remains a
Wanna
motion
vote?
and a second on the floor.
Yeah, I think we should vote on it.
Call the question.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cheek,
What is the motion and the question?
what I have is a motion, and I believe I didn't catch every word, I apologize. A motion that the Subcommittee on Redevelopment be made public and be recorded and televised.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have Mrs. Link making the motion, Dr. Witherspoon seconding it, and we're calling a roll call vote on it.
No.
Mrs. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Schenker,
No.
Dr. Witherspoon,
No.
Mayor Patali.
No.
4 no, 1 yes. It's defeated. We can bring it up next.
Absolutely.
um,
Anything else, Mrs. Link?
No, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Schenker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Because you.
First of all, Warren left, but congratulations to Warren, and thank you very much for taking the seat. It's good to have somebody with his experience in that position. Also, I'd like to congratulate Chris Tilley. I don't think we could have found somebody any better, just like Brett Knoll. He has been with the Public Works for a long time, has come up the ranks, and now you're going to run it. So good luck to you. Congratulations. Anything we can do to help you out, get going, let us know. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes, first of all, congratulations, Chris, for everything. And just to clarify, I was the chairman of the planning board quite a long time. When it came to redevelopment and rehabilitation, there was never any approvals or anything that did not come to Township Committee for final say. Everything we did was a recommendation to Township Committee. Just to clarify, we didn't make up our own rules and go by our own rules and whatnot. So I just, like I say, wanted to clarify it. And then also, when we started this meeting, it was wintertime. It is now spring. Get in the mood of baseball, swimming, and enjoy the spring. That's all I have.
Pitchers and catchers.
I like that. Yeah, congratulations to Warren, and I agree. He's going to bring a wealth of knowledge to that board. And obviously, congratulations to Chris Tilley. You're well qualified. Chucky, you were close, but Chris, I had to give him the nod. Now, in all seriousness, you're taking over a great public works department. You guys do phenomenal work, and now we're going to see how well you are with reports that you will be sending to us for every meeting. All right, looking forward to that. And yes, it's springtime, everybody. So get outside. Hopefully the weather starts to cooperate a little bit. We can get outside, enjoy ourselves, enjoy all of the parks that are around. And like Mr. Cheek said, baseball's coming, and that's exciting. So that's really all I have to say. Reagan, see you all the time now. Maddie, miss you, love you. I hope to see you soon. So let's open it up to the public.
Wow,
State your name, please.
I forgot. The Dix Archives. Number one, perhaps Rita will send it to everybody so we're all on that same page. Judy, you well remember when you and Rodney couldn't get anything on an agenda, nor could I, and finally we remembered, you didn't, he didn't, I did, the Gaskell policy. Any one township committee person can put an item on the agenda. You don't need two people to agree, and God knows you don't need three. So let's refresh, because Sandman didn't know about that policy till November of 2013, my 23rd month on the Township Committee. So let's
We
get-
have it.
Of course we
Brett has
have
it.
it, but everybody else needs to be on the page because
Okay.
there's new faces. Now let's go to the hard part. You may have seen me speaking with this fine young man right here at the beginning of the meeting. I was thanking him. I had reviewed the agenda. I saw those 2 4-letter words, landfill, on here, and I have an extensive file on it. And I didn't bother to review it. I looked at a couple of other things. I told Brett tonight, Judy, you remember, Phil, you may have been there too, because you were here in 2013. Jeff was there. Judy, you and I, as committee women, were there. We had 3 meetings in 2013 in Conference Room A with Jeff, you, me, Sandman, Pritchard, Carson, Gordon Craig, Trevin, who's no longer with this group. And I don't remember if there was one more person. Don't remember if Phil was there. He might have been, he might not have been. The topic was the landfill and the impact with the industrial park. So while people are irritated, things take too long, I'm irritated. Because in those 2013 meetings, you may remember, and I'll bet you he remembers, that there was a problem with our trash from our landfill encroaching on private property next to the landfill, property that was sold to somebody who still has not developed it, and as of looking at the deed yesterday, they still own it. So if the township in these 10 years hasn't solved the problem about the encroachment, and I'm not asking you to answer it, if you do know, you don't know, please don't. I'm saying I have not seen anything in these 10 years that this township government did its part of what was wrong at the landfill as part of this movement toward the cleanup, et cetera. As to the Pinelands, I think we're waiting on DEP's approval of the closure and the post-closure approvals to get started, but then the Pinelands has to review it. I remember making a motion on the planning board, Richie, I'm not sure if you were the chairman in December of 2013, and it was the historic preservation ordinance that had to go back to the Pinelands because anything with land use, they have to have the final say. More than a year later, they responded. So even if these people who've been working with some diligence, with or without our help, for all these years, are finally getting to maybe the light is at the end of the tunnel. How long is the Pinelands going to hold them up? And we can't be putting bulldozers in there and cutting trees down, because the Pinelands will really be upset about that. I want to bring in one more little angle that Brett enlightened me in the email earlier today, that because of my email to him, this consent agenda goes through like a NASA rocket. And we don't know what it is, and you're not reading it out loud and telling us, well, this one here tonight, we're gonna sell this land to Joe Blow. We don't know. We won't know until the resolution's up on the on the internet, which Rita's diligent about getting them there. So my point is that Brett told me your resolution number 230053 is for a 75% grant to do with renewable something or other. I didn't write it all down when I was looking at Alita's cell phone. So you voted 76 days ago to approve applying for a 75-day grant. 76 days ago. We've waited over a year for the Pinelands to respond to things. Now we're applying for a grant. We think we're going to have an answer in 75 days? Today's day 76. So let's do some rewinding here. Not put more pressure on people who maybe are doing their best due diligence, but have we done our due diligence? Is this the best course of action? Because I don't think a few-month extension is the right course of action. I'd like to know more about that grant that is just listed in a resolution that I could read online, but the grant application and all the implications, I don't know what it is, but I know it has to do with the landfill, only because he told me today in an email. There's no way on that consent agenda that the landfill was even mentioned. And I wonder if you guys forgot it too.
Where is it?
Let's remember, for all the anxiety about rehabilitation or redevelopment, let's remember every project that anybody has dreamed up has been on somebody else's property. This single time, we are the owners of the property. We, the taxpayers of Hamilton Township. So let's not shoot ourselves in the foot and deep six our own project. I don't think anybody was thinking of it that way, and I didn't think of it that way until what I've seen tonight. It is clearly our project, all of us. So I'm sure they're going to get where they have to get when they can get there, but what about that encroachment situation? Somebody better check into that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Because I don't know where that impacts what they're trying to do in the cleanup, but I think I said enough. I found tonight to be very upsetting because this has been a long course since this started, and I will close by saying what I just said to him tonight. When Bob Sandman stood up at that meeting in, I think it was July 25th, 2013, we were two and a half hours of questions and answers back and forth. Do you remember that, Jeff? Phil, do you remember if you were in on that meeting or maybe not? I don't remember. I didn't look at the attendance sheet of my file.
Address me, not
But
them.
Bob Sandman stood up. He said he learned more in that two and a half hour meeting that I called with Deputy Judy Link, two committee women, than he ever heard in all the years he had been the solicitor in this town, which was back in the 90s and then since 2010. So that started to get some more information out, and that's what needs to happen now. Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot on our own redevelopment project. Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on down. You're next contestant.
The price isn't right. Hi, Debbie Kraus. I live up on Driftwood Lane, and I guess it was February 27th, there was a meeting here with the burn factory. And before I get into that, I just want to mention something about an ordinance that you were talking about tonight with the dirt bikes. I just want to tell you, don't hold your breath. It's not that the police and that the zoning and construction departments don't handle. It's the courts. The courts they have allowed this town to run rampant with ordinance violations. I have a business up on the Pike, used to be Days Deli. Someone moved in, made it residential, did not go for any zoning board approvals, just went in, made it residential. They turn around, they sell cars up there. There was an ordinance a few years ago. You're not allowed to sell cars unless it's on your lot and it's your car. They have storage containers sitting right out front on the Black Horse Pike. They have multiple trailers that they brought in that they rent out to people who want to rent a place to live. This is all happening right out on the Black Horse Pike. The police have been there, construction's been there, zoning has been there, all of these ordinances, 4 of them, and guess what? Nothing. 2 years I've been in here complaining about this, and for 2 years it's been held up in the courts. So don't,
Just to be clear, it's not us doing nothing.
No, I just said it's
the courts doing nothing. I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
I think I just said that. It is not. The police have been out there writing tickets. The zoning officer's been writing tickets. The construction office is writing tickets. And the prosecutor's office does nothing. This has been 2 years. The man finally just came into court one time. And what did he do? He went back up, started putting up more cars, selling his cars. He brings in people to live there, and there is nothing anybody can do. So it's not the town, it's the court. So even if you get them into court, they're going to just slap them on the wrist. My whole reason for coming here tonight was the burn factory. I live up on Driftwood Lane. Jean's Farm Market sits right out in front. The Anacones are very hardworking people, but there's about 100 homes behind Jean's Farm Market, which is all FA 70 zoned. I don't know who in the world, the woman that was standing here that night, she was an attorney. She didn't know what zone she was in. She thought it was a double zone. She thought it was, everything was, all good. They specified that there was 18 acres on that piece of property that was highway commercial, which is not true. There's probably 13. The other acreage is in a 70-acre zone. It is a pristine setting up there. It is right on the river. The homes behind there, like I said, about 100 homes. We have a great neighborhood. You want to bring, Township Committee gave their endorsement for this burn factory at that meeting. I watched it over and over again. There were some questions that were asked about the expansion. They're talking about putting in a 10,000 square foot steel building to start growing marijuana, okay? Then somebody asked about, was it a district for this? And I heard on the tape that, yes, it is a district for this. What is a district for a grow manufacturer in this town? What district are we looking at? Are we looking at agricultural, or are we looking at highway commercial?
Right.
Everybody was there, and everybody endorsed this, and I just want to know how much Township Committee knows about
That is an approved use for that. That zone is an approved use for.
It is a highway commercial, and you're going to have an agricultural use?
The cannabis establishments can go in a highway commercial zone.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
if
but
they
it's
can go in a highway commercial zone, then they don't need agricultural at all.
Agricultural is another zone that they can go in.
Okay. Why would we put a cannabis, and this is only phase one, so you're talking about these ugly warehouses that are going to go up. And they're going to be growing marijuana in there, okay? Which, hey, if you that's your thing, that's your thing. But the surrounding area is not suitable for that. There's only that one little piece of acreage in that whole section up there that is not FA 70. An FA 70 zone means you build one house for every 70 acres. So to keep the river and the wildlife and everything, it's to keep it pristine. It's not to put a grow house. Now, I have one question for committee, and that is, how many members have ever been to a grow house, a warehouse? Has anybody who voted yes for it ever been to one?
I haven't.
Any of the professionals ever been to one? So this is all new to everybody, okay? You endorse the warehouses in our neighborhood with so many unknown factors. The odors. People talk about, oh, they're going to have fans, they're going to have exhaust, they're going to have all different kinds of things. We don't know because nobody has been to see one. I've heard horror stories about the odors coming from them. In fact, in here, I heard over at the industrial park where someone wanted to put one in, they were worried about the odors. And I thought, well, geez, the odors are going to go right over to the school, where you tell the kids don't do drugs. The odors come right over. The noise factor that's going to be coming in with these buildings and with whatever else they're going to need to grow. The traffic, the lighting, the high fences, the security system, new wells, septics, groundwater pollution, because God knows what chemicals they're going to use. I mean, I don't know, do you use chemicals on pot? When we have a power outage up there, which is, we get them, what happens? They go on generators, and I'm sure they're going to be industrial strength generators, and then what happens? We're going to hear all that noise. We're going to be hearing all kinds of things up there. This is not why we all moved up there. I mean, our little section up there is a neighborhood in itself. I mean, there's, you know, we don't really have a lot of outside activity. Jean's Farm Market's the cutest little farm market everybody goes to, everybody visits for their flowers and vegetables. Now we're gonna have these huge warehouses that are going to sit out there and ruin the whole area. And I honestly don't wanna say, hey, make a right at the grow house, I live right down the street, you know? I mean, this is, our property values are gonna drop. I mean, it's ridiculous. The agricultural zones are way out in the township. In an agricultural zone, you need 40 acres just to build anything. Why not go out to an agricultural zone and put up a warehouse where nobody's around it, where nobody lives around? But to endorse something in my neighborhood, I mean, Judy, you could sell the skating rink. I could open my cannabis warehouse right there. And then I could spread the love. I would just like blow those fans right over Lake Drive, okay? I could buy Martha's Bar. And Rich, I could be blowing it right back to you. You wouldn't have to buy a thing. I mean, it's ridiculous. You put it in the industrial park. I mean, but why up in a residential area like that? It makes no sense at all, none at all. And my next step is to go and notify all the neighbors to come in, just like these people, just like Magic Sports years ago, back in '80s, Laureldale, they were gonna put high tension lines in. The people came in, they didn't go in. We have Trophy Park. It's something that we need to discuss, because this rehabilitation thing and putting these grow houses and dispensaries where people are living in residential areas, that is only a small piece of that entire neighborhood that is going to get disturbed by these ugly warehouses. And the smell and all of the security, fences, things like that are going to go along with it. And I'm really upset that y'all voted yes for it without even thinking about would I want this in my backyard. So that's how I feel, and I had to come in tonight to say something, because I think it's really wrong that you would think that it would be fine up there, you know? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Alan North from Trophy Park. I'm sure you all know who I am. I'm a little mystified with what you guys are doing here tonight with knocking Trophy Park. Judy and, well, the three of you up there, you voted, it was a unanimous vote, when I came in and did a video up here and showed you guys what I was going to do. And you guys all voted unanimously for Trophy Park to get an MOU. So I get the MOU, and I'm trying to put it all together. I went to the workshop. Everybody had ideas there, and I went with them. Judy sat up here at one of the meetings and said that she was out there, and there was pretty flowers, and she knows because she's a biology teacher, but she didn't talk about the frogs. And she said that it needed a good size buffer zone. I only needed to have 50 foot, I put in 200 foot. Had drawings made up, went to the county on the traffic, went through everything that the town at the meeting had asked me to do. But when it came time for me to come and present it, I needed a little bit more time, because you guys wanted me to look for another place in town to put it. I kept telling you that the track doesn't work. It doesn't. I looked around, there was no other place. But you guys decide, and Art and Thelma, you guys weren't here for that meeting. But you guys will decide that we're not going to give him that extension. Now, Art gets up there and says, we need ratables. If I was allowed to come back and show you guys that I'm bringing in over actually, if you take the 2022 numbers, I don't know what 23 is going to be, but in 22, I would have paid $3,503,436 in taxes. $640,778.44 went to the county. School taxes were $1,000,000 $891,855.44. Municipal taxes would have been $970,802.11. And the estimated amount that I would have had to put into the Hamilton Affordable Housing Trust Fund was $2,715,000. And nobody wanted to pay attention, or nobody wanted to come back, because you had a few people that voted for you guys to get you in office. The area that I'm doing it in is way out in the edge of town. It was a great place with no traffic. Size for what I needed. One side of it was a wood preserve. The other side of it, there's a couple dozen houses. And you guys decide that Trophy Park shouldn't go there. You guys also say you can't get through Pinelands. That's my problem. I spent a lot of money putting things together to come and present it to the town to show them how good it was. Carl, I sent you a whole report that I got from the EDA that shows what the results are from having youth sports. And it was a $98 billion industry. And the state had it broken down, and it was a pretty thick volume of it, broken down into how it helps the gas station attendants, what it does for the town. You got up here a couple weeks ago and you said that the stores are moving out. We got to shop local. I was bringing in 2 million people a year that all would have been in the stores. And you guys didn't let me come back and present it. Now, I didn't have anybody come out to the other meetings because that stuff didn't really mean nothing. And Art, you know that if I get the unions, the building trades to come out here, I can fill this room 3 times over just with building trades people that would want this project. There was over 600 construction jobs there. There was over 1,300 permanent jobs. All the stores, everybody around here would have profited from it. But I wasn't allowed to come back and do it. So then I decided that I'll go to another workshop. So I put in my $700 again, and I was going to go there, and I was going to either do Trophy Park or I was going to do something else. Then I get a call that I got to come up with another $700 because that's 2 workshops. It's 1 piece of property. So I decided that I don't know why I even want to be in this town. I mean, the mayor, you have not ever ran a business. This town is a $27 million business. And you've never signed a paycheck, and you're up there. That's okay, because then what you're supposed to have is a business administrator who can lead you, and somebody who has the experience. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Brett. He'd done a great job with Public Works, and I was told that when I first came here even. But he's not qualified to be the business administrator. And no offense, but he's got to learn. He needs experience in that.
I think that was pretty offensive, but go ahead.
Well, but I mean, like,
You don't feel that way, Brett.
you guys mind if I talk? Unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stick up for my administrator, I'm sorry.
Well, you can stick up for him all you want. He doesn't have the qualifications. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I know he did a great job with Public Works, but you had people that you advertised for to come in here as a administrator, and you didn't even look at them because probably they all had more experience. You know, and I'm sure he's going to learn, and I'm sure he's going to get there, but it's not going to help you now. So, you know, I don't understand why I wasn't allowed to come back and do it. So, being as I wasn't, you know, I mean, a lot of people that got up, there was maybe 10 or 12 people that got up at every meeting and complained about Trophy Park. Same people. Most of the stuff they said was wrong. Bob Fink would get up there and say there was 4 plane crashes. The FAA says there was 1, and it wasn't even on that property. And the plane wasn't from this airport. Its wing fell off, and it was coming from someplace else. You know, he said that I needed a 6,000-seat stadium, not a 3,000-seat stadium. The league requires a 3,000-seat stadium. They don't want 6,000-seat stadiums. That's why the one in Atlantic City is sitting there empty, because it's too hard to keep and too expensive. So that woman got up and complained about the Trophy Park being there because of traffic. because she's a doctor. I talked to her. She's not a doctor. She's a physical therapist, a long ways away from being a doctor. She couldn't get up 5 minutes earlier to go to work? I don't know.
How many more
But-
people are you going to insult?
Pardon?
How many more people are you going to insult?
Not many.
You just getting warmed up?
Huh? Just getting warmed up, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even as far as you,
Timer.
Yeah.
You're going to be rude, we'll put you on a timer.
well, I mean, just, I'm doing with facts. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm upset because I spent a lot of money and got no place, and you
Okay.
get up here tonight and say that you need ratables.
Absolutely.
I had a great ratable that you wouldn't even let me present. So how was that fair? So,
Quickly, I'm sorry. I have to object on the same grounds that Mr. Schenker just did. But as a matter of procedure, we get up to that microphone, we identify ourselves personally, and then we tell you where we live. I'm a resident of this township. Are you a resident of Hamilton?
I spent a lot
Jim.
of money in this township.
That's all I need to know.
I spent a lot of money in this township to try to get a project here that this town desperately needed. But you don't have to worry, the project is not going to come here. I'll stop insulting people, Art. The project's not going to come here because I think it's a town that doesn't have qualified people running it, number one. It's my opinion, and I'm entitled to that. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting in 60 low-income houses. And instead of me putting in all kinds of money into the taxes, it's now going to cost almost $2 million, $2,731,000 for you to put those kids through school a year. And,
So you basically just came here to kick mud on us.
Yeah, I just came here to just let you know how I feel. And
So let me say something. When you first started off, you said that you gave this presentation and we voted yes to the MOU.
That's
That's
right.
completely wrong. That is not what happened. You gave the presentation after we voted on the MOU.
No, you didn't.
Yes, you absolutely did. Absolutely. Because if you gave that presentation, I wouldn't have been up here screaming that I had no information
You did get up and
about your
scream about that.
project.
You did get up and scream about that.
Right. So why would I get up and scream if you gave a presentation?
Because that was.
Because the presentation was 2 weeks
Because
later.
you said you didn't have the paperwork everybody else had it, but you said you didn't have it.
No.
No.
It was a consent
It,
agenda.
it doesn't
item.
matter, you know, I just wanted to come here and say my piece. You know, I mean, you had a great police department, a great fire department, great EMS, a great public works place. The committee before you guys, they had a vision of making this place better than it was by trying to keep the taxes down, by bringing in revenue. You know, it's 268 acres of woods that's out on the edge of town. And I don't know why you guys didn't think that that should go there. Now, if I'm spending all the money that I spent to do this, and you won't even let me do it, who else is going to come to this town? You won't let me get up and say what I was going to say. So who else is going to come to this town and say, well, we'll put in our $700, we'll go to that meeting, we'll put up $50,000, and then when you get down a little farther down the road, say, we don't want you, and you spend a lot of money. The idea of a redevelopment plan is to help people like me to come into a town and to get things straightened out without spending tons and tons of money. So I just don't know what you expect. So that's my speech, and good luck.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Is it all right for me to say it was the recommendation of our attorney? Just don't say it. Thank you.
Bob Fink, Manheim Avenue in Cologne. I feel that my name was mentioned tonight, so I'd like to ask a couple questions. First of all, I know I can't ask anything of him, but I would like maybe one of the two of you could. I'd like to know if he owns the property. He's told you that he was going to go to closing in September. Then he said, I forget what the reason was, October, he said that he owned the property, it cost him a lot of money, he'll do what he wants with it. So now we're hearing Trophy Park's not coming, affordable housing's coming, whatever else. I'd just like to know, does he own the property like he says? Thank you.
Alice Henry, Drosera. First of all, I am a doctor of physical therapy, which I've never said otherwise. And I don't appreciate being insulted by people who attend. Furthermore, I would like to go and explain to people who may not know, but that area is not zoned for public water or public sewer, which is why the Pinelands will not allow it to be transitioned without an appropriate amount of space to go and compensate for that to be retransitioned back to RD5, which if you had gone before the Pinelands, you would have found out yourself. Furthermore, I apologize, I'm slightly annoyed at this point in time. I do have a question for the committee. I know they have the subdevelopment committee for redevelopment and rehabilitation. Would the proposed changes, after they come back to the township committee, then be open to public comment as well?
Yes, could we be changing the ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And happy first day of spring, everyone.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Jim Link, 676 Park Road, 763 Park Road. I don't know about everybody else in here, but and you guys, but my blood pressure is like freaking out. It's and rightfully so. If after being insulted generally by a developer who's promising everything under the sun, like you, Richard, I was chairman of the planning board for many, many years, and we've heard people come and go who are going to bring all kinds of money into the township. Some did, some didn't. There were a number of applications that, well, let's just say one of them we had to reconvene over at the Hess School because there were so many people in here that the fire marshal was going to throw them all out. That's how hot and heavy some of those applications were. And I get it, okay? This thing about redevelopment is of the same magnitude. It doesn't affect a couple people that live out there in Cologne. Sorry. That ordinance affects every single person in this township, okay, in one way or another. And it must not be taken lightly. It must not be tweaked, okay? Let me give you a little history. May 1787, a number of people got together in Philadelphia from all over the new country, the United States of America, okay? The government was falling apart. The country was falling apart. They went there to reevaluate the Articles of Confederation. Nobody knew that when in September came out, they built a whole new form of government, a whole brand new system under which we operate right now. They had no intention of doing that, but that's the way it happened. And I'm telling you, you should take a lesson from history. I don't think you guys are going to get rid of a redevelopment ordinance as suggested by Art. Art, that's wrong.
I did not suggest
Art, you
that.
said if you get rid of it, you'll be done. No, that's not the point. The point is you took the step, and you don't get anything done without taking that first step. And for that, I commend Art and your administration, the planning board, because I was in this audience, and when that was first introduced, I said, holy mackerel, what a great idea. You know, having spent more than almost a decade on the planning board, having taken planning courses and whatnot. Great idea. But as time went on, things evolved, and people did things to it that nobody had any idea that they're going to be able to do. And they did it in the dark of privacy. Sunshine is the great disinfectant in public.
Excuse me, are you saying that...
Wait, I didn't say it yet. I'm not finished.
Okay.
All right? Sunshine is the great disinfectant of public policy. And I'm not suggesting that every single subcommittee be subjected to public review. Although I don't see a problem with that, because what a subcommittee or any committee takes is a strong leader that knows how to run a meeting. You set the rules down before the meeting starts, and if the public wants to come in, why not? Okay? Mrs. Link mentioned the word nefarious in introducing that motion. Well, it's true. If it's done in the dark, who knows if it's going to be nefarious or not? Open it up. And when I was sitting in that seat, Carl, as chairman of the planning board, early on in my tenure, I was admonished, okay? And I must admit, I learned a lot. It was a good thing. But I was admonished by a member. In fact, at the time, I believe she was the municipal chair of the Republican Party in Hamilton Township. woman by the name of Sue Sandman. She said, always defer to the public. And now you guys are not going to defer to the public? That is outrageous. All right? Open it up because it's a huge issue. We're not impugning anybody, but everybody who's involved and wants to know about that particular redevelopment ordinance should be given the opportunity to understand the genesis of every article through its inception and then ratification, okay, at this body with all 5 of you there. Remember, there's only going to be 2 people in that subcommittee because you can't have 3. Then you got to have a public notice, right?
So really, it's not public because I can't attend.
I'm saying open it to the public.
But
That's right. There's
that
only
would make-
2.
So then I
2
can't.
members,
So
that's
then
by
I
state
can't
law.
attend that meeting. That's
No,
one of my
because
issues.
you decided to run and were elected as a member of Township Committee, you cannot. But, you know, you defer to the other 2 members that are. And then you also defer to the members that you appointed under those 2 members of Township Committee, right? That's exactly right. Okay? But everybody else in this room should not be excluded. Anyone else in Township should not be excluded. Okay? You're not setting any precedent about opening up meetings. No. You call the rules of the meeting so that everybody knows when they walk in that door, wherever we're going to have the meeting, that there are rules to abide by. Okay? And the chairperson of that subcommittee will enforce those rules. Thank you very much.
We are still talking about a subcommittee, right?
Yes. Anybody else in the public? You people are too slow.
I just want to say on behalf of
Name?
Cynthia Murray, Cologne Avenue, Cologne, New Jersey, born, raised, and still there. Same house I was brought home from the hospital in. It's a wonderful little corner of this township. I just want to thank everyone here that has had to work very hard and has had to make some tough decisions sometimes and listen to your constituents of both sides, no matter who they were. And we sure do appreciate that. We appreciate the individuals who are working here diligently, doing their job, going above and beyond. We're an area that is not overtaken by giants who come in dangling carrots. There has been at least 8 other projects that have been dangled in other areas by the gentleman who spoke earlier, and they did not come to fruition. So I don't think we need to eat each other over this. I think it's probably one of the things that are going to help us to be a stronger community and make really good decisions together. So I just can't tell you how much I appreciate all that you've done. And I apologize on behalf of the gentleman back here for what he had to say today, because I don't believe he understands how offensive it was. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or a motion to close public?
Close.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We were going to adjourn to executive session.
Are we still going to do that?
Will we be coming out?
Will we be coming out?
I have no idea. So I'll say May. Unless we can postpone it.
Motion to adjourn to public session?
Motion, a second, and a vote.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I did. It was motion and I seconded it.
Motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? We executive session.
So moved. Second. Either one.
All those in favor?
One.
Aye. Against? Ayes have it. I have a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
I'll second that one.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it. We are in open session. Chantel went out and found there's nobody out there waiting for us.
10:22. I want to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, that sounds like a
There
great
we go.
idea.
Thank you.
Motion and a second.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting